Okay, we are live. We are live. We're back. And tonight we're going to have a very good presentation and discussion about our boys, Cincere and Classic Pettus, also known as Orrin and Orson West, our California City boys that went missing in December 21st of 2020. I want to welcome everyone to the chat. Thank you so much for coming. We've got a good live we're going to present to you tonight. I've got much love for the folks that show up for our boys because it's been 9 months. 9 long months. I made a promise when I took up this case to investigate, to study, to render some kind of contribution on my part in assisting in finding and locating our boys. I meant what I said. And so we're back tonight to cover some information with you. It's going to be different. That is for sure. Welcome, everyone. Oh boy, we've got a load up in here tonight, and it's going to get bigger and better. Get on your phones, text somebody, message someone, email someone. John Q's back. We've got an exclusive update on our boys tonight. I know that you're going to find this information very, very valuable because it was valuable to me once I discovered it. And I'm sure it will be of great value to you because you'll know it before you leave here tonight. So with that said, Gail Thornberry, how are you? Mr. and Mrs. Williams, how are you? Trixie Starr, welcome. Mary Martins, my love, welcome. Leslie B is in the house moderating tonight. Welcome and thank you for being here. Miss Nay is in the house moderating for tonight. Much love to you. Welcome. Charlie, thank you. Paula Sidney. Denise Aparicio. I said that. I hope I said it right. Corrine Gonzalez. Thank you. Lindsay Liu. Welcome. Justice Seeker 9402. Welcome. Larissa Golden. China Moon is in the house. Mr. Boss Blake, salute to you, my brother. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Welcome. Light-skinned chick. I haven't seen you here before, but welcome. Sergeant King, salute to you. Welcome. We have a very special presentation tonight. We're going to be getting into a different area of this investigation. One that not many people have spoken about in the YouTube community, but tonight we're going to discuss it though. I came across some information that is valuable to this case for everyone to understand. And the way I came across it was, of course, due diligence on my part. And a lot of you have done your due diligence by following this case on your part. And so in doing that, we only have a limited amount of information. Let's just put it out there. What they gave us is what they gave us. News interviews, stories about what other content creators have put out that have been following the case, their points of view, their opinions, all of our valuable information. We have covered lives on this channel pertaining to the boys. We have covered lives on this channel which include people that were out there in California City, boots on the ground folks, such as AV Watchman, Steve. He's been on this channel representing the boys. Miss Crenshaw Incorporated has been on this channel representing the boys. Miss Roro, who happens to be a family member, representing the boys. We've had a number of guests representing the boys. Miss Faith Pasqua, who brought us the SOS hand signal, representing the boys. We've had Miss Q Carlock, an extraordinary content creator that I'm blessed to work with, representing the boys, and a host of others. I intend to keep digging at this case. I want to let you know that. I intend to keep bringing content on this case. I intend to continue making phone calls. We're working alongside folks that are gathering together to put an action plan in place. We talked about sending emails out. We talked about making phone calls. We've talked about an action plan coming into play and working with other people rather than opposing them. This is about coming together to do one thing and one thing only, is to bring our boys home. Bring our boys home. That's what it's about. Where Are the Boys has been a campaign that's been out there for 9 months. My march in this is to bring our boys home. Let's get it done. So for those of you who stand with that motto, congratulations, welcome to the family. You are part of an elite group that's decided to make a change in this case, and I'm honored and glad that I am a part of it as well. So tonight we're going to be getting into a number of things that's going to educate you. It's going to give you something to walk away with. Because believe me, when I came across it, I'm certainly a little bit more educated today than I was in my last life. And so will you be. Much love to all of you coming in. So with that said, we're going to get busy. Let me go here and go to work. Much love to everyone joining us here tonight. All right, folks, it's time to cue the truth. Welcome, everyone just joining us here tonight. We're just getting started. You know how I like to warm up the room a little bit, allow people to flex, get their condiments. Haven't heard that word in a long time. Yeah, get your drinks, relax, grab your notebook. We're going to learn something here tonight, very important. I'm glad to be joined by a content creator that I've admired. She does extraordinary work on her channel, and God has blessed me with a collaboration, a partner, a sincere person of heart in covering this story with you and the investigative channels that we're digging into to find out the best information we can bring you. A lot of you have known who she is from our last couple of lives. We've done some lives with her on her channel. And that person, obviously, that I am speaking of in this regard, you all better know. Oh, you definitely better know and get to know, because she is an extraordinary content creator. If you don't know who I'm talking about, well, get ready, because she's going to come up and join us here tonight as a special guest and co-host in a very important step we're about to take in this case together. And that's Miss Q Carlock. Q arrived on the scene. Miss Q arrived on the scene just in time to meet John Q. And since then, we have connected in a way that brings us here together once again tonight. And if you are not subscribed to Miss Q Carlock on her channel, for the dedication, the perseverance, the courage, and the love that she has to bring to the table, I suggest you do so. Take a moment. I'm going to share with you a recent story that she posted on her channel, and you can go back and find her library on all of the working cases that she's doing. Extraordinary work. But this one I want to share with you myself before I bring her up, because I find that working together and bring you the current news as to what's going on with our children is most important. So with that said, let's go to work. Just going to cue it up here for a second. Get it ready. While you're getting ready, I hope you got your notebooks out. About to learn something here tonight. All right. Well, you know how these things do the YouTube buffer dance.
Child leaves their home or your home, never to be seen again.
I've got it on pause. Let's start it over again. I want every drop of what Miss Q Carlock has to say regarding a recent story she just posted.
Your child leaves their home or your home, never to be seen again. Last seen here or there by somebody.
Breaking news now at 5. I-team sources say the body found by a hiker is reported missing woman Destiny Jackson. The hiker was found south of Las Vegas Boulevard. The 24-year-old last seen Friday on her way to the Strip. Police say there are signs of foul play, and it is now being actively investigated as a homicide. This is a developing story. We'll be sure to...
Can everyone hear
Las
that?
Vegas, I-team sources confirm 24-year-old Destiny Jackson, who had been missing since early Friday morning, was found dead in a desert area south of Las Vegas. Her death is being investigated as a homicide. Family and friends reported Jackson missing over the weekend. She was last seen driving toward the Las Vegas Strip. a hiker discovered the body of Jackson in a desert area near the 17,000 block of South Las Vegas Boulevard between Las Vegas and Jean, Nevada. Police did not immediately release the identity of the victim or say how she died. Those details will be released by the Clark County Coroner's Office. The family has established a GoFundMe account to help pay for the expenses for her burial in Los Angeles, California. Anyone with information about this incident is urged to contact the LVMPD Homicide, Las Vegas Metro Police Department Homicide Section, by phone at 702-828-3521 or by email at homicide@lvmpd.com. To remain anonymous, contact Crime Stoppers at 702-385-5555. This one is close to home, so we will get my boots on the ground, take a look at this area she was found in and any other places I can come across. So just stay tuned so we can find out what happened to this baby. And yes, she's a baby to me. We're all babies to somebody. Right now, we want Destiny to get justice. Someone did this to her and then left her in the middle of the desert. It's just too Hollywood. I'll keep digging, beautiful people. Thank you. Super shout out to Legacy for coming into the live yesterday and saying Destiny's name. Because now we know. And we can help share the story. And pray to God we can get justice for her and peace for the family. Enough is enough. Kiss your babies and hold them close. Because not only is tomorrow not guaranteed, neither is tonight. Neither is tonight.
Okay. It's Miss Q Carlock. In her recent video release, and I am proud to be working alongside an extraordinary content creator. So let me bring up Miss Q Carlock. Oops.
Hello, John. Can you hear me okay?
I got you now.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Oh my God. You know what? I made myself sad on that one, man. You know, life is too short. You know
Yes,
how
it
long
is.
we've been able to say, you know, tomorrow's not guaranteed. Like, you really can't say that anymore. And that bothers me a lot.
Absolutely. I'm just so happy that you've, out of your busy schedule, were able to join us here tonight for a special live presentation for our boys, Cincere and Classic.
Yes.
Welcome back,
Beautiful
and
boys
show some
out
love
here.
to Miss Q Carlock in the room. Send us some
Hello,
hearts.
everybody. Hello, hello, hello. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come in all somber. John and his intros, you know what I'm saying? It's just me, y'all. A little bit of Q squared tonight. Here for the boys for sure, because in just a few days it's going to be 9 whole months, long enough to have had a whole other baby. Okay, think about it.
Indeed.
And we don't have any more answers.
That's what they gave us. You know, they gave us what they are allowing us to have. And so we have studied what they had given us. And we were able to identify some things that we overlooked.
Right.
And that's what we're going to share with you tonight. Tonight's title of the live, they are going to be rambunctious.
Rambunctious. Yeah.
And I know that that statement stuck in the minds of all of us following this story.
Certainly
All
did.
of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so tonight, we're going to take a look once again. A brief look. We're not going to go all through what we've already done because we want to get right into the meat of tonight's live.
Meat and potatoes.
Yes. Yes. So with that said, just to double check, a sound check in the room, type of 1. Much love to everyone joining us here tonight
Yeah.
for Classic and Sincere Pettus. Absolutely. G Money is in the house.
And said
Bex
that
is in the
statement
house.
has always bothered me. Exactly, G Money. You are not alone.
Heather Williams is in the house. Barbara Powell's in the house.
Hey
T.
there,
Sophia
Barbara.
is in the house. Daniel. Okay. Brother Daniel is in the house. September Virgo is in the house.
Coming in
Robin
so
is in the
fast.
house. Kathy McGraw is in the house.
The
J.A. Martinez is in the house. Obsidian, welcome. Martinez is in the house. Paula Sidney is in the house. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. Hi, G Money. I see you. I see you. I see all of you guys. I can't even start calling out all these names because y'all know we missed somebody and y'all wanna rough us up. So I'm gonna let John do the names, and I'm hello in the chat to everybody, beautiful people. Thank y'all for coming out this evening.
Absolutely. So to begin with, we're going to take a brief look back at a couple of items that caught my interest during my due diligence in investigating some of the information that we've already come across. But there was an enlightenment that happened. I was enlightened by something, and that something was a statement. And that statement began to manifest in a way that I hadn't thought about it before. And so tonight I'm going to take you there. We're all going to this very special place. We are not going to be taking a look at this from the perspective of the adoptive parents or the biological parents. We're going to be taking a different look and a different viewpoint, one that has not been discussed, I believe, so far in our YouTube community. But we're going to be magnifying a very special and specific place when it comes to our boys. Before we get to that very special and specific place, I want to screen share and begin tonight's presentation. If you're good with that, Miss Q?
Of course, let's roll.
Okay, that we do.
Seat belts fastened and tray tables. Ken, let me try that again. Tray tables up.
Indeed. All right, in sharing tonight's information, we want to put up a copyright disclaimer, as I always do, to protect the integrity and the material of tonight's presentation. Any information I do share comes from the internet, the YouTube community, and other areas within the news community. Under this section, we are allowed fair use, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Also, an additional disclaimer, there will be some items that I will be sharing from other content creators on this channel. All credit is due them. I will do my very best to disclose where the source comes from, and also compliment them for putting the information on their channels and in the YouTube community as a contribution to covering the case from their points of view, their opinions, and their perspective. So respectively, let us go to work.
Okay.
All right. We all know where the boys came from. We all know what story was told. On December 21st of 2020, there was a strange call that was made to police. This call, whether it be a 911 call, which has not been disclosed in this case as of yet, is a mystery. But a call was made by a female in a non-emergency situation to police to come to California City at the Aspen Avenue residence of Jacqueline and Trezell West. When they did so, the story unfolded, and two little boys, toddlers, Orrin and Orson West, aka Classic and Cincere, ages 3 and 4, went missing during the early evening of December 21st. It was presumably said and allegedly said that they were outside in the backyard playing with chalk by themselves. While Trezell, the adoptive parent in this case, was outside getting firewood for a fire indoors in their home that night. He was throwing wood from the outer perimeter on the side lot of the home into an open gate area where he worked to throw that wood. He was bringing wood back and forth. And on one occasion, he saw the boys going in the house. And then on the final occasion, he didn't see the boys when he exited the house. He stated that they searched the house, they searched the yard, and then a telephone call was made. And that call went to California City Police Department. They arrived shortly thereafter to assist in the search of the boys. Mr. A.V. Watchman, Steve, was able to share with us content that he was able to capture the night the boys went missing. Much love to Steve for doing that. And in so doing that, he was able to share with us a visual from a neighbor directly across the lot to the right-hand side of the West home. Some extraordinary things that we were able to not only witness on a visionary point of view, but also on a pinpoint of view. Things were moving that night. Lights were moving. People were moving. It gave us an impression that something was wrong. Something else was going on there at 10717 Aspen Avenue. We all witnessed that. Take it back 2 days earlier, we also witnessed videotape surveillance footage of that same location on December 19th. In the early morning of the 19th at 11:33 a.m., we see Jacqueline and Trezell escort 4 children to a white van in front of their home, make a U-turn, and disappear into the scene. Where they went, well, the map shows us in front of us. Went all the way from California City, where they lived, all the way to a place called Bakersfield. Visiting with family, relatives, the story goes, taking the children they had with them to relatives for the holidays. We saw that happen on December 19th. But where was Classic and Cincere during that trip? Why didn't they go on that trip? Where were they outside of that trip? Lots of questions began to spur up in our minds about that particular day, December 19th. So the story on the 21st has now been rendered null because of December 19th. But what we're about to do is to go over that information that they told us, and then we're going to stop at a point because that point brings us into tonight's live. So with that said,
Wonderful recap. Perfect.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. No, because it's
All right,
it's a
much love to
complex
everyone joining us in the
situation
chat.
for you to be able to sum it up so well.
Yes, it
I
is.
think we have a delay. We got a tiny delay.
Yeah, we'll just continue to work through that little spot that YouTube loves to throw up there. They like the little buffer dance from time to time, you know. So in bringing us back to this point, gives us an idea of what we've been told. And as soon as it stops buffering, and I've got control over it, we shall begin. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Thank you for your patience. Anyone who's been following this story on YouTube knows we have to deal with some
Yeah.
technical slow back time and things of that nature, but we're patient.
Technology, period, right?
Wow, we've got a lot of folks up in here. The numbers are climbing. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
I see. Thank
I'm
you,
still
mods.
trying to
I
get
see y'all on deck.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all very much. CPS is not answering questions. Okay, Mama. Steve AV, he's trying though.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let us begin, and then we'll get to the major point of tonight's live. I hope everyone can hear this. This is what we were told from both Trezell and Jacqueline West 48 hours later in front of a news press conference as to what they knew about what happened to their 2 adoptive sons, Classic and Cincere, aka Orrin and Orson West. This is what they told us. This is what we heard. This is what they wanted us to know.
We just want to thank everyone in the community for all the support we've seen. We've felt so helpless, and seeing everybody out here really looking and helping out really means a lot.
So, tell us what happened the night that kids went missing.
Okay.
From our yard.
Okay. It was cold. I was gonna make a fire. It's a lot of wood in this area right here next to our house. I opened up the back gate. I'm throwing wood, bringing it inside the house. My wife's inside. She was actually wrapping gifts, so we thought it was a good idea that our youngest 2 would go outside and play with chalk on the patio. Do not let them on the dirt dog. Keep them close. Play with chalk. And the house, I saw them there. One house, back out. I didn't see it now. I went back in, asked my wife, did you see the boys? She said, no, they should be outside playing with chalk. I said, well, I didn't see them. So I came back outside and I started searching my backyard. I searched the whole thing. I realized that I left the gate open and I panicked, came inside the house, searched the house, me and my wife. Once that didn't pan out, I got in the van. I looked down the street, both directions. It was getting dark, getting cold, and I got in the van and I hit a bunch of corners. I went down this street. I turned my light on. I searched. I called their names. Talked to a gentleman on the street on the other side over there. He didn't see me. So then I came home and I told my wife, we need to call the cops. It's getting dark and I need help. We got to get going. So I called the cops. Cops came. First thing they did was tell us to stay in the house so they can get a hold of us. And had us just sitting there, and we wanted to keep searching. But everybody came out in droves. And I wanted to thank you guys that night, but we couldn't go outside.
The cops told us the best are out here.
The best are out here searching. And we appreciate it. And nobody ever could tell, we could never talk to anybody. And that was the issue.
We just want to thank everybody.
We really want to thank you guys.
Please, if anybody has seen them, please call, let somebody know.
Call the cops. Call California, the city police department. Call them and let them know what you've seen, if you see anything. Our boys, they are going to be rambunctious.
Now, when I heard that, I stopped the video just like when I heard that, I stopped the video just like I did. And I wanted to get some kind of clarity. I replayed it and replayed it. As many of you have seen this video, maybe have come to this point and replayed it and heard certain things, continued on with the interview. There were a lot of red flags in this interview, no doubt. But this point in the interview bothered me. There were a couple of nights I did not sleep because of this video. I studied it. I wanted to know from a perspective of standing right next to Trezell what he was thinking, why he was thinking, what he was thinking, and what compelled him to use a specific word to describe his children. Once again, not sleeping, going back to this video again and again and again and again. And I said, I'm gonna need more clarity than that. And so I wanted to stop it here because I went digging, began to realize and find out. I'm going to take you with me. Thank you all for coming. So we can find out together what Trezell was talking about.
Let's see.
And what Trezell was talking about was a word, an adjective to describe Classic and Cincere. Uncontrollably exuberant. Key word there is uncontrolled.
Uncontrollably. Yeah.
So now we have to put into perspective that his little toddlers are ages 3 and 4. This particular word describing them also describes behavior, and in a way, a physical activity, physical behavior of how the boys were acting when they were with Jacqueline and Trezell West.
That's why it was on his mind like that.
And so considering this word was used during that the interim of the interview, you would have to consider the way they appeared in that interview was highly, highly stressed, buckled with stress, anxiety, the uncertainty of their story being believed. Whether we would believe that story, whether the news reporters believe that story, whether California Police Department believed that story, was left open to chance. And so in Trezel's statement, he describes his boys as being rambunctious. Their ages are 30, 32, possibly young in their 30s. They've got 6 boys, ages from 3 underneath 10. 6 boys. Were the boys being rambunctious to the other children? Were they being rambunctious to Jacqueline and Trezel? And in so describing the boys and their behavior, you could just imagine what parents would do with children underneath the ages of 10 in a rambunctious situation. What do most people do? Let me ask the chat to begin our engagement tonight.
Okay.
What do parents normally do?
With rambunctious children?
Yes.
Okay.
Any ideas, chat? Unruly Obsidian says yes. Kathy says time out. Okay. And everyone who has a timeout has a specific definition for that.
Beat them.
Beat them, G Money. Whip them, Sherry. I'll let you go ahead and read the chat responses, Miss Q.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
We got another timeout from Juanita. Spanking from G Money. Correct the behavior from Bam. Bossman Blake said isolate them. Chastise. Nisi. Timeout per year. KY Debbie. Mary Martin's timeout. Obsidian regroup discipline reinforcement. Make them take a nap, Mr. and Mrs. Williams. Timeout and explain why they're on timeout from Larissa. More timeout from Sherry. Redirect behavior from Gypsy. Timeout and discussion after to why they were timed out from Glenda. Tabitha, a lot of parents put them on ADHD medicine. Shay's Faith, redirection. Javel said they used to take their son to the park. Like that. Rhonda, get them involved with activities. Kathy, no beating. I always took something Mayan liked and put them in their room. Let's see. Gail Thornberry said, wait. Oh, they have Nerf machine guns, and I send them outside to play. Scroll on down here. Take them to the park. Birdie. Nay said, put them in timeout and whoop them. Eli said, get on them immediately. Hi, Lady in Blue. Heather Williams, redirect. Juanita, abuse. Elizabeth Mason said, the corner. Sherry said, parents lose their tempers. 6 Up Audit said, therapy. Nisi says, 6 boys, somebody ass getting whooped.
Okay. And
Shall I go on? Are you good?
And they're all describing disciplinary action to tame rambunctiousness.
Right.
Now we have to ask ourselves, how many times a day was disciplinary action used?
Right.
On the boys, and maybe perhaps on the other children because of the boys being rambunctious. And if it was consistent, as we would believe, these types of disciplinary actions may be, for lack of a better word, administered to children underneath the ages of 10, you have to ask yourself a question on the impact
Right.
of that disciplinary action.
Right. And we are just hypothetically answering the question. They literally lived with it. So they probably did some of the things y'all just put in the chat, you think? And there was
Yeah.
a lot of the same stuff popping up.
Right. And each parent giving the description of what disciplinary action that either they experience for themselves or seen other parents discipline their children. This is a behavior pattern, if repetitively repeated, could alter the psychology of the children.
Right.
And in a way that would produce an altered psychology for the children. If everyone follows me, type a 1, because we're right at the front door of this right now.
The train is about to leave the station.
Here we go. And so in getting this word rambunctious under control and defined for tonight's live, we had to take a look at the disciplinary actions that a parent would take, and then begin to take a look at the psychological aspects and the ramifications of long-term psychological effects of such disciplinary actions. If Jacqueline and Giselle West did this on a frequent basis because of 6 children under the age of 10, which ones did they discipline the most out of being rambunctious? We don't know.
No.
However, the end result of the psychological effects will settle in and take place nonetheless, either directly for those children that were disciplined directly and those children that were not disciplined.
Yep.
Either way has a long-term psychological effect on those children overall. Okay. Now, we're taking a look tonight here at Classic and Cincere in the picture frame of being adopted children. Children that were taken away from their adoptive mother. That's a story in and of itself. The time process that's involved in that, we need more clarification. How the adoption process works, we most certainly need clarification.
Absolutely.
Each state runs their adoptive agencies and their processes slightly different than the other. None, they try to run in a uniform way, universally, but as we can see, each state handles that process differently than the other. And in this case, for Classic and Cincere, most certainly different than the others.
And
so-
unless you actually go through that experience, it's really hard to find out how that all works, unless you know somebody who's been there.
Right, right. And so I wanted to see if I can find it here. Begin to find out what the psychological ramifications of this disciplinary action on a consistent basis would do to young children. So I had to dig further.
Yes.
I was able to speak directly with someone that I've asked to be here with us tonight as a special guest, an honored guest, because they led me in the area of the most important critical information this case has not taken a look at. And it's called a reactive attachment disorder. Has anyone in the chat ever heard of the term reactive attachment disorder? Type a 1 for yes and 2 for no.
Maybe RAD.
Yes. Kathy Lambert says yes. And you can be honest. If you don't know the term, that's fine. We're here to get it.
That part. I hadn't heard it before John said it to me. So it is what it is. We're here to learn and educate together. But it is interesting once you get into it. They're doing ones and twos. Y'all don't. Nobody said a two. We said. Did you say 1 and 2?
Yeah,
So
1 and
2 is
2. 1
probably
for
no.
yes
Did you
and
say
2
that?
for
Okay, I
no.
missed it. My
Yeah.
bad.
No,
Let
that's
me
okay.
focus. My bad.
That's okay.
Well, let me put a 2 because
Yeah.
yesterday I didn't know.
Roxanne is not going to answer. I'm just watching the video. I'm
See,
just going to watch the video. I'm not going to put a 1
Roxanne,
and
we would
2.
like to know what you think, Roxanne. Roxanne. That was the jam back in the day.
Roxanne.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Don't be like that,
Okay.
Roxanne. Thank you guys
Exactly.
for answering. We love the
Yes.
feedback.
Yeah, the feedback is important because it tells us that we're going in the right direction, that we need to consider and incorporate a psychological effect on children, ages 3 and 4, in this case, Classic and Sincere, and to find out
Thank you, Roxanne.
from their point of view what they were feeling, why they were feeling it, their point of view. How did they experience the placement transfer from the biological family to the first foster family that cared for them for a short period of time? And for some reason, we're not going to get into tonight, they were extracted from the first foster care family and then placed with Jacqueline and Trezell West. Now, Jacqueline and Trezell West have 2 biological children of their own and 2 other children that may have been adopted or in the adoption process, give or take. But 6 children now, under the ages of 10, we have to put on the table and consider. How much discipline did Jacqueline and Trezell have to issue all of the children? Or were certain children singled out more so than the rest? I was able to find out from our special guest tonight. We'll call her Miss Lynn.
Miss Lynn's in the house.
She is in the house. We're going to be bringing her up. She's going to walk us through this piece regarding reactive attachment disorder.
Beautiful.
I'll just read a little bit of the commentary here before we get to bringing Miss Lynn up.
Okay.
She herself has a child who had suffered, an adoptive child who had suffered reactive attachment disorder, so she can speak from experience. She's also investigated cases with children suffering from reactive attachment disorder, and she will be able to share with us a little bit, some basic casework information. She will help us to understand the adoption process, how it begins, what's the requirements, how does it work, what happens when a placement is issued, what happens when a final placement of adoption is issued, and also she'll be able to give us information on the illegal aspects of the same information.
The underground?
The underground. So reactive attachment disorder, RAD, is described in clinical literature as a severe and relatively uncommon disorder that can affect children. RAD is characterized by markedly disturbed and developmental inappropriate ways of relating socially in most contexts. It can take the form of a persistent failure to initiate or respond to most social interactions in a developmental appropriate way, known as inhibited forms. I'm going to get to my other definition here, which is a little bit more simpler. Wikipedia can really take you deep into the aspects of this, but I wanted to get to what the Mayo Clinic stated regarding reactive attachment disorder. Oh, thank you for the hearts. They're dropping hearts in there, love. They're dropping hearts.
Beautiful. Blue hearts. Where are the boys?
Thank you for the hearts. Yes. Okay. Reactive attachment disorder is a rare but serious condition in which an infant or young child doesn't establish healthy attachment with parents or caregivers. Reactive attachment disorder may develop if a child's basic needs for comfort, affection, and nurturing aren't met, and loving, caring, stable attachments with others are not established. With treatment, children with attachment disorder may develop unhealthy relationships with caregivers and others. Treatment active attachment disorders include psychological counseling, parent or caregiver counseling and education, learning positive child and caregiving interactions, and creating a stable, nurturing environment. Much love to everyone joining us here tonight. We have well over 200 people. Thank you so much. I hope you're tuning at the door. You know that that thumbs up does help the algorithm. And so what we're going to do.
John, that's so interesting though, what you just read. Listen, the part that really grabs me is that you said reactive attachment disorder may develop if the child's basic needs for comfort, affection, and nurturing, aren't met. That's interesting. So it's not just natural. I mean, they could just naturally not adjust, but usually it sounds like it's more triggered by not being treated right in the first place. That's what I'm grasping.
Right. Oh, yes. Okay. Point indeed. Okay. And so with that said, we have to take a look and consider that aspect in this case when it comes to Classic and Cincere.
Got it.
It appears as though that rambunctious now has taken a much more prominent definition. It also appears as though that Jacqueline and Trezell are most certainly irresponsible parents for allowing their two toddlers, Classic and Cincere, to go missing in the first place.
Right.
It is a form of negligence at the highest order.
Agreed.
And so I'm going to bring up Miss Lynn.
Miss Lynn.
And she is going to join us.
We don't have an applause machine, but I'm going to do a little clap back here.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. There is some background echo if you have a secondary device.
YouTube might be open. You don't need YouTube open if you're on StreamYard. You'll be able to hear everything through StreamYard.
Okay, I'm in an opposite room from it, but let me go shut it.
Okay, take your time.
I didn't hear it anymore when you walked wherever you just went, but
okay, I'll stay put.
You hear it, John?
Yes, I still hear a little bit of the echo.
It is, Lynn, yeah.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah, take your time. And I want to welcome Crystal Moore, moderator for tonight. Thank you so much, love, for joining us. I thought I saw Miss Angela in here from Everyday Shenanigans.
You did.
Yeah, she's here. Okay. Yeah, much love to Angela. Her and I were on a panel earlier today discussing the Wells case.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, Ms. Lynn. And I know that when we spoke on the phone, you had reached out to me with some very important information you wanted to share with me concerning Classic and Cincere. And so with that said, you also shared some very valuable information. I want to say hello, chat.
John, chat is saying we still have an echo. Is the audio on the screen share? I'm sorry, I'm working in the background.
No, the screen share is off.
It said there was an echo on John. I hear it now too. I hear myself. Why? Here, Let me see. Was I try to talk? I'm gonna mute out.
Okay. All right, Miss Lynn.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
here.
much better. Much better. I hope. Sound check. Sound check. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So now, Miss Lynn, welcome, and I am very excited to have you on tonight's special live for Classic and Sincere. You've enlightened me in this area called reactive, and I'm still getting used to the word and everything. Attachment disorder. I thought about the word rambunctious being used by Trezell during that interview, and it kind of led me in this spot. And then you reached out to me in an email and wanted to speak with me in regards to a lot of different points of view that you have and experience that you have with the term RAD. And welcome to tonight's live.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Okay. And so can you tell us a little bit from your experience with this term RAD and how you were able to experience it, I guess, in the work that you do, handling investigative cases when it comes to the adoption process, and also perhaps shed some light on some of the things that you most certainly came across. And I'll go ahead and mute.
Okay, I started many years ago in the late 1990s, and I investigated scams and unethical practices in adoption. And so we had Yahoo groups and AOL groups back then. And now we see them on Facebook and other social media. But I discovered that there's what is called an underground world. And that's where adoptive parents have children and they are not attaching. They aren't settling into the home. They're bringing in all kinds of chaos. And so they're just not fit for some kids just can't adjust to a family home. And
Right.
a lot of the adoptive parents, there's no post-adoption support. And kids that have reactive attachment, they can go for like 6 months and everything is perfect. And then all of a sudden one morning they'll wake up and they no longer like where they're at. And all this trauma and distrust that they have, rightfully so, all comes out. And in some kids, it'll come out where they will kind of like sit in a corner and not do a lot. And other kids will just come out screaming and violent and throwing things. But so these adoptive parents couldn't go to social workers or adoption agencies because they were being severely judged. And they were also being threatened with losing any children that were in their home. And there wasn't a lot of therapists that specialized in trauma, reactive attachment, oppositional defiance in adoption. And so people started looking into this, other groups and trying to match their children up with other potential families. And
Right.
it was termed rehoming.
Right. Now you have at least 20 years experience with this type of information concerning RAD. And
Yes.
some of the investigative work that you did, could you share a little bit of that with us?
Like where these kids ended up?
Yeah, what the adoption process is and how you were able to I guess be called in to step in to investigate a case concerning this process.
So there was this potential adoptive family, and there were questions about their home study and whether it was factual or not, and it wasn't. It wasn't an authentic home study. And I started investigating further, and individual adoptive parents that were trying to rehome their children were literally dropping their kids off at the curb with this potential adoptive parents.
Right.
And then it ended up, well, being the adoptive parents were taking them for sexual purposes. And the children were coming from all over the United States into this home in Southern Illinois. And you would think that you could go to the authorities with the facts and the documentation, and that should be enough. It wasn't.
Right.
I was able to get most of the kids out of the home, but there were a few I didn't know about. And then it took the United States Attorney's Office a couple of years to come to me, because I enlisted a news investigator I gave her this information, and she dug deeper. And we were finally able to get these people convicted, and they're 40 years in federal prison.
And that is the Nicole
Excellent.
Eason, I think it's Nicole and Calvin Eason, that case?
Yes.
Okay. And so that was a case that was successfully prosecuted for a lot of different things that they were doing to the children that they had.
Yes. And it also brought this rehoming process, which is a word I dislike intensely because we use it when we're trying to find a new home for a dog or a cat. But it's a child trafficking, and it's not regulated, but that story brought it to the forefront, where it started opening up some eyes that this really does happen. This is another way that they are trafficking children.
Right, right. And the long-term psychological effects on children that suffer from RAD, what are some of the things that you came across?
Well, so I always go back, a lot of the kids, for instance, spent time in an orphanage in Ukraine or Russia. And I'm going to use that as an example.
Okay.
So these children, oftentimes, they don't want anybody attaching to the kids because it's going to make it harder for them when they're placed for adoption. That's their thinking. And anyway, you have these little children that are in an orphanage, and then these strangers come and don't even speak their language, nothing familiar, and they hand them off to these children and put them on an airplane and take them to these hotels or put them into a new home. Imagine taking them to a grocery store, and all these sights and these sounds and these smells, and nothing is familiar about their world. And I shared with John that I have a younger sister she's on the shy side, and she's always been rather quiet. And if you took both of us and brought us out of an orphanage, I would have came out of there kicking and screaming. She would have went the opposite direction and turned very shy, wouldn't have answered anybody, wouldn't look anybody in the eye. Me, if I wasn't happy with something, I probably would have picked my toy up and threw it and hit people in the head and was very defiant. But that's our human nature. And so when you talk about reactive attachment, you know, if a baby's needs, like they're hungry and they're starving and they're not able to count on that food or that bottle, they have to find a way to soothe themselves. And we can do that as babies. And we have that ability to, you know, we have instincts. We're born with instincts. And if we're not getting that eye contact and that love and our cries answered, we then have to figure out another way to deal with it. And then comes a distrust. And then everything that you question it, you can't trust it. You've got to react to it. You're going to react to it. And your reaction is going to be one to keep you in control of everything in your life.
Right.
And so with the boys going into a home, none of that was their choice. If they had a choice, they would have wanted to go back to mom and dad or mom and grandma and everything familiar. And so now there's these two little boys, although they're together, they are removed from what they knew and everything that is familiar. And they're taken into a home, and here are all these new rules. They have to share. There's kids there before them. They're not going to slide into place like people think they should.
Right.
And all that discipline on the use of rambunctious, all that discipline with the child with reactive attachment, none of that discipline would have worked.
Because the children were taken out of their original environment.
Because the kids develop reactive attachment, and they need their environment to be within their control because they don't trust the adults in their life.
All right, so this would have a long-term traumatic effect on their psychological processing of what's going on. Okay.
Yes, and if you have a set of parents that don't understand it and don't know where to turn for help, that's a bomb ready to go off in a home.
Right. Do you think the boys, Classic and Cincere, definitely suffered from RAD and maybe many more different developments or developmental issues from what happened to them?
You know, I don't know exactly because I don't know all of their history, but they couldn't have come out of that unscathed. And you can have a mild case of reactive attachment, and some kids, it'll manifest boldly, and other children, it can just be a mild case.
Right. Miss Q, do you have a question for Miss Lynn?
I just didn't want to echo. I've been definitely listening, and actually that I think you kind of just asked what I was wondering was, you know, basically based on, I guess we don't know a lot about the boys, but I mean, with Trezell using that word rambunctious, God, can we assume that those babies may have been going through something like that? It's not even, I guess,
Yes.
more. You can.
Yes. If you were to look at I know on Facebook there's a group called Second Chance Adoption.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are adoption agencies and different groups, or they may call themselves facilitators.
Okay.
Even like Wednesday's Child, when you go and look and you read the description of the children, and especially the older children, they might say rambunctious.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and it's kind of like, oh, how did they tell you? Looking at it's a bad example, I guess, but if you're looking at the classifieds for a rental,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to read between the lines what it really might look like.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
and
New carpet, yeah, things like that. Got it.
and
Mhm.
another word, but it's really small. And
Right.
but they do use words like that. And their children, don't do well in some homes and they will in others. They'll do better being the only children. And
Does it seem like oh, I'm so sorry, Miss Lynn. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, does it seem like, I mean, in your experience, did you see did it seem like most of the kids that were being rehomed or, going through this, did it seem like most of them were rambunctious? Is that kind of what they do when parents can't handle these kids? They just to rehome them?
Rambunctious is a kind word.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, for lack of a better word, you mean type of
Yes.
kind word? Okay, got it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Um,
Got it.
Even at a very young age, our youngest, we brought her home at 18 months, and she's actually my husband's biological great niece.
Okay.
And by the time she turned 5, I was in therapy. And a lot of times kids with reactive attachment will choose one parent, and it's the one that is with them the most. And it's a constant push-pull. And she wanted me to love her, but she couldn't accept love from me. And she couldn't trust, even though every day she got 3 meals a day and lots of food. She would still steal food or eat the dog treats or eat out of the trash can.
Oh, it's echoing now, John. I even muted it out.
That echoes rough.
You heard it? I know. And you were saying something. I tried to mute out.
There, that's better.
Okay, go on, Miss Lynn. You said they would steal dog food and eat out of the trash can?
Oh yeah, that's all part of not trusting that their needs are going to be met.
Got it.
And so as parents to a child without reactive attachment, and you said, okay, go stand in the corner, that's not easily done for a child with reactive attachment. They're going to go stand in the corner and spit on every piece of that wall, or they'll stand there and wet their pants, or they'll start picking at a piece of wallpaper and ripping the heck out of it. Discipline doesn't do any good. There's no consequences that do any good for these kids. Their brain got rewired when they were. It does. And my daughter didn't ask to be born and have this happen to her in her life. And luckily, we had a trauma therapist to teach me how to parent her, because no one was coming in and living with us 24/7. But I had the sense to go for help. And closed my eyes to the judgment I was getting from others, because she was seen as this sweet little beautiful big blue-eyed girl, and nobody knew what was really going on behind those big blue eyes and what was going on at home. And so once she was diagnosed with reactive attachment, still my family members, they had a hard time seeing it. And it's one of those things, you got to walk that journey.
Yeah.
But even though I worked the cases where people were dropping their children off, not caring where these kids went,
Crazy.
that was so very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no respect for that. But when I looked at this case with the boys, that's the first thing I thought of. And the fact that two went missing.
Yep.
And I thought, you know, they couldn't handle them. And knowing the adoption process, they were in fear of losing the other kids, and they were being judged in their parenting techniques. And so they found this underground world.
Jeez.
And a lot of people live off the grid that will, you know, or homeschool and stuff. So
Yeah.
I started asking questions. So what I'm saying is I think the boys are still alive.
So then once they rehome them, I mean, what happens? I mean, not that you're there, but they just keep moving them around? Do they keep them and kind of rent them out? Do you know? Or
No,
what would they
a
be
lot
doing
of
if they're still alive, I guess, Miss Lynn, in your opinion?
they would take them as children in their family. And documentation, those are the things I would investigate and find out, you know, are the kids still on Medicare? Because the subsidies would have followed them on a final adoption.
Got it.
And so that would get transferred. Their birth certificates, their amended birth certificates would have to go with them. But they can homeschool them and raise them in a home in a small community.
Got it.
And they could be anywhere in the United States, you know, and nobody will know.
Sheesh. That might be the best case scenario with all things considered, as long as they're in good homes. But the problem is we would never know if that's the case. We're never going to know.
Right. Maybe someday, because I think those people are fooling themselves to think that they can stay underground for the rest of their life. Secrets are found out. Secrets reveal.
That's true. Usually it's done in the
But
dark.
the parents, yeah, and the parents know what they did. And they don't need adoption professionals to do this. Most states for readoption, they aren't regulated.
Wow.
And the laws and readoption isn't, you know, regulated in a lot of states. You can go through adoption professionals and do, you know, and place your adopted children for adoption. You can do that.
Wow.
But in some states where there's not regulations, there's the threat of losing all of your children and the judgment.
Wow. John,
So
were you
that-
saying something?
Yeah, I think I found that article from the Department of Justice, Office of Public Affairs. This was a press release in regards to Nicole and Calvin Eason that was sentenced to serve 40 years in prison for kidnapping and transporting a minor with the intent to engage in SA activities. This is the case that Miss Lynn is talking about in reference to the investigative work that she was able to do in reference to tonight's discussion. I was able to find it, Miss Lynn.
We will have to definitely look more into that story. That's very impressive. Great job, Miss Lynn.
You're welcome. Yeah, that was a wild one. Let me tell you, when I was in the courtroom and they said 40 years, I almost felt guilty. And then I went, because I had to testify, so I didn't get to hear a lot of the testimony, but I had my BFF there and she kind of filled me in and I went, well, yeah, 40 years isn't enough,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But
don't you dare come back to that one.
No, and the kidnapping part, so they were able to make that charge stick. And what that was all about is they were enticing, like one little girl came from California. Her dad brought her. Her adopted dad brought her from California to Illinois. And because they enticed him to bring her to them, they still got that as a kidnapping charge.
Oh, okay.
That was interesting. Yeah.
Wow. So it says here, and I'm just going to read a little bit of it just to give the chat room a little flavor as to the work Miss Lynn was able to do and accomplish along with law enforcement regarding the Eason case. It says the Nicole and Calvin Eason were sentenced today, each to serve 40 years in prison for kidnapping and transporting a minor with the intent of SA. Assistant Attorney General Leslie R. Caldwell of the Justice Department's Criminal Division, the U.S. Attorney General James A. Lewis of the Central District of Illinois, and Special Agent in Charge Sean Cox of the FBI Springfield office in Illinois division made the announcement. Nicole Eason, 37, and Calvin Eason, 47, both formerly of Danville and Westville, Illinois, were sentenced by Chief United States Justice District Judge James A. Shadid of Central District of Illinois, who also ordered each to serve a lifetime term of supervised release. On December 18th of 2015, a federal jury in Peoria, Illinois, found Nicole Eason guilty of 2 counts of kidnapping and 1 count of transportation with the intent to engage in criminal SA with a minor. On November 6th of 2015, Calvin Eason pled guilty to all 3 counts in the indictment. Evidence at the trial established in 2006 through 2008, the Easons sought to adopt through an informal process sometimes referred to as private rehoming, in which the legal adoptive family can no longer care for a child and transfers the child to another's custody. In 2007, the Easons communicated with the minor's parents about rehoming and misrepresented material facts about their background to gain the parents' trust, including, among other things, that they had a home study waiver, which was used to verify the Easons as fit caregivers. Based on these misrepresentations, one of the minor's parents, transported the child across state lines in 2007 to live with the Easons. The minor testified that while in the Easons' custody for nearly a month, both Nicole and Calvin Eason repeatedly and physically aid her.
No.
And I'm going to stop right there.
Sheesh. 40 years wasn't enough. You're right, Miss Lynn.
No.
Not at all. And they would have kept it up.
Oh,
Great
yeah.
work.
And those weren't all the kids.
Jesus.
The United States attorney promised me that she wasn't done.
Hmm.
Right.
Thank you for finding that, John.
Yes. And so and if you can both mute up, Miss Lynn, can you mute up?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. How does this pertain to classic and sincere? Well, these are different levels that we've seen a process unfold from the adoptive parent making us aware that the children that they have adopted are going to be rambunctious, and then defining rambunctious in its present tense as an adjective to describe a behavior, and that behavior consistently says to us that disciplinary action has to be taken by the caregivers or the parents themselves, and sometimes for young parents, in a way that could be over repetitive in most cases, in many cases. And this begins to develop and begin building an altered psychological effect on young children who are traumatized and then psychologically moved from one level of psychology, their natural normal psychology, and into an area, and the area that we've identified tonight is the RAD, reactive adjustment disorder, or I think it was, if I said that correct, is it adjustment disorder? It's reactive attachment. Okay. Adjustment, attachment. I'm thinking both in combination with each other. Where that psychology then moves them into an RAD for any given length of time. And that would be psychologically damaging, traumatizing the child, along with that child not being in their original biological environment. You know, I'm sure that Classic and Sincere missed their mom, missed missed her love, her nurturing, her voice, the smell of her cooking, the way she fed them, the way she nurtured them. And once they were taken from her and then placed into the system, regarding CPS now, placed into a system, CPS has requirements whenever they do an emergency removal or removal of any child or children in a household that they believe has suffered from any kind of abuse or negligence. They automatically jump in and begin a process. And Miss Lynn, could you, if you can, just for the last few moments of this particular area, could you walk us through a little bit of what that adoption process is supposed to be like on the legal side, and then compare it to the underground, what you've been able to find out about how people are involved in the rehoming process of these children?
Yes. In California and through foster care, what probably happened was kids were taken into care. There would have been a 30-day investigation period, then a court hearing where they determined whether the kids needed to stay in care a little longer, and mom and dad or mom work her plan. And then because there is what's called the Child Safe Act, if the children are out of the home 18 out of 22 months, then we need to move over to child's best interest and start making plans for more permanency. And apparently here, they decided more permanency and they put them in a foster to adopt home. Now, the other thing I want to add in here, 2 little African American boys are hard to place. that's a reality and a fact in the adoption world. It's a sad one. So,
Are you able to specify a little bit as to what you mean when you say that?
you know, I don't get it. I really just don't get it. But from what I've been told, it's harder for them. Most of adoptive homes are Caucasian homes. And it's hard for the boys to be brought up outside of their culture and in white communities. And I think that's it.
Right, right.
And, you know, so sometimes the agencies, I don't care who they are, whether they're CPS or they're adoption agencies or attorneys and adoption specialists, they don't look into the families and, you know, they're not that stringent because they're just more interested in finding a solid placement for the boys.
Right. The monitoring aspect.
So once it moved over into adoption in CPS, I know here in my state, then there's a 6-month process. And it's that way if we did a private adoption, the child's placed in your home, then there's like a 6-month process with at least 3 visits to the home. They need to get the boys' medical records, that kind of stuff. And then you have a final adoption hearing. And then there's no more home visits, you know, by CPS. There's no post-adoption care, nothing like that. This is now the boys' new home.
Right.
And so the rehoming part is you are not supposed to legally, no adoption professional is supposed to legally take a child over state lines. There's a process called interstate compact. And California, in this case, would be the giving state. And, you know, if they took them to Nebraska, then Nebraska would be the receiving state. And all this paperwork has to go back and forth between each state capital office. And so it's illegal to take a child over state lines for the purpose of adoption or guardianship.
Right. Wow.
And so then it's called child trafficking at that point.
I kind of figured you were going there.
Yeah. And so in my thoughts are, since the boys were in foster care, they were probably on Medicare, they were probably getting subsidized somehow, you know, for therapy and different things. That all would follow them, should follow them in a legal adoption. That supplement would be there until they were 18.
Right. That would be the monthly stipends and services that they would get. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And there's, monthly stipend. Yeah. And the insurance, the medical insurance would supplement the parents' insurance for whatever extra that they might need. Most foster care kids do get that.
Right.
And if it's part of the final adoption decree, then that follows them.
It's interesting you say that. If you can just mute up just a second, Miss Lynn.
Okay.
Okay. It's interesting Miss Lynn says that, and I'm just doing this just to avoid feedback, that when the boys went missing, we were told that they went missing December 21st. We saw no evidence of the boys on the 19th, which would lead us to believe that they were missing long before the 19th, which would take us back now into a time area undetermined right now as for how long the boys were not with Jacqueline and Trezell West. And in that, and me saying that now, with the boys getting support, services, monthly stipends, it leads me to believe, and this is my opinion, it leads me to believe that Jacqueline and Trezell were harboring those benefits for themselves during the time the boys were missing. And that's a powerful motivator, especially for a young couple who had finalized this adoption in the month of April, I believe, of 2019. They had them for a short period of time before then, before they had gotten them from the first foster care home, and then they fostered the boys up until a certain point. April came around, they finalized the adoption. June comes around, they start to also begin to finalize a brand new home in California City, California, on Aspen Avenue. And then December comes around where the boys go missing. And I've always asked myself, why did Jacqueline or Trezell make that phone call if they didn't have the children with them anyway? Why would they then, on December, in the month of December, and it's stated for the record, the 21st, a few days before Christmas, decide to make a 911 call or a non-emergency call regarding their boys going missing then? What motivated and prompted Trezell to do it right then and there?
Right. That night, at
that particular time.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, what would you do, John, if you were put in that particular situation where you had to make a call you weren't thinking about making, did not want to make, never even thought about making, but now you have to make that call?
Let me ask you, what would you do, John?
I would have made that call under the motivation of knowing that someone was coming to visit them, whether it could have been a CPS visitation at that time, one, whether it could have been the biological visitation after post-adoption was done, two, or whether the boys were supposed to visit with siblings during the course of the holidays and Jacqueline and Trezell couldn't deliver. And so now, with their backs up against the wall, they have no alternative but to make that phone call and to show their hand. And then we get to the news conference 2 days later as to what they told us happened.
Mm-hmm. So the only reason would be because they had to make that call.
Right. And for them to have put themselves in that kind of a position, knowing that they didn't have the boys, we can now understand why the Bakersfield Police Department came on with Brian Wang and several other news reporters stating that if anyone has information on the whereabouts of the boys for the last 12 months, and that was a red flag to me. I said, why would they need such a wide time scope or scan regarding the boys?
Mm-hmm.
And it only says to us that there's a strong possibility that the boys were never with them for the last 12 months. And anyone with information, please contact them so they could follow up on medical leads, dental leads, any child care that they were given, any services that were used under Medicaid, or any insurance that the boys had on them that would cover them for any kind of services that they would need. We've got a huge time gap.
Yeah.
A big one.
Yeah.
And so I see Miss Lynn wanted to chime in, so you can come back, Miss Lynn, and I'm going to mute up.
Me too.
Well, I was just going to say bingo card for 1,000 like Chris M would have.
Another Disney Donna fan in the house.
That's exactly where I'm at with it. Is, you know, my mind just goes a million miles. Over the years, I've met a lot of individuals who were dealing with infertility, and they really wanted a family. They wanted to raise children, but for whatever reason, they could never qualify home study wise. And so they would do different, you know, there were different ways. And one way that popped into my mind is, once you adopt a child, that is your child. And that final adoption hearing, the judge 100% of the time states, this child's yours. And when it comes down to your inheritance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it makes it that legal. So then you have the power to put the child in a guardianship with other people, readopt, you know, or place that child for adoption. You have all of those parental rights. And why they decided to go this route in a non-emergency phone call when your children are missing, you know, that's a major red flag.
It was brought to my attention, and thank you for muting up, Miss Lynn. It was brought to my attention through the research that I was able to do along with two other content creators, that it was interesting, extremely interesting, that a call was placed in regards to the boys on December 21st of 2020 when the boys went missing. This call was not placed according to record, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm coming from facts. Call was transferred and placed into Bakersfield and not California City during the time the boys went missing on December 21st. This call, a non-emergency call, was called a CAD call, a CAD call. And upon further review and investigation, it was found out that this particular call to a front desk officer was explained very thoroughly that a call did come from California City, and it wasn't for the resident on Aspen Avenue. However, it was for the resident on Potomac Avenue, where the grandparents had lived and where the grandparents allegedly had the other four boys. A wellness check was issued. According to the report, a wellness check was made. According to the report, the officers did investigate that particular wellness call and found that there were adults and children located at that property residence on Potomac at the time. However, the officers could not identify Classic and Cincere being at that residence. And so you'd have to ask yourself, well, heck, why would a call to police regarding two missing boys end up in Bakersfield the same time the boys went missing? A wellness check was performed, and they've also verified that both Classic and Cincere were not there. And so it was very puzzling to me to find out that information and how it went. Before we ended up 2 days later, now we're talking about the 22nd, 2 days later with that interview concerning Jacqueline and Trezell West.
Interesting. I think because something is just up with Bakersfield, and they knew it from the jump. They just haven't said it to us, especially after hearing what I just heard.
Right. And I know that, and this was just the information that was passed on to me. And I, took my time to really think about how all those different parts and pieces worked and everything. But I'm still trying to put that particular part together because it didn't make sense to me. It says if a call was made in California City at the time the boys were missing, why did it end up in Bakersfield? So I'm still trying to clear that. The wellness check was performed, and that it was identified that there were adults and children at that particular location, only to find that Classic and Sincere were not there. And
Looks
so,
like Crenshaw just came in the room, John. She was asking, I don't know.
oh, is she? Oh, hello, Miss Crenshaw. How are you? Matter of fact, I'm going to do this. This is getting interesting by the moment. Let me see if I can invite Miss Crenshaw up, because this is Miss Crenshaw that I spoke about at the beginning of the live, talking about boots on the ground in regards to being there at the California City location on Aspen Avenue, doing a thorough search with her team concerning the boys. And she stayed there for quite some time. She was able to learn a lot. And so, Miss Crenshaw, I dropped the link in the chat. If you have a moment, I know you've been busy. This woman has been, emphatically busy in reference to the work that she's been doing on this case. And so, Miss Crenshaw, if you have a moment, she can also enlighten us a bit as to whether she has come across that particular information concerning that call, because she's been following this.
No, because she was
this
just
case
asking you
investigation very carefully.
what document you were. Well, maybe she has, but she was trying to clarify what
Right.
document.
I remember she on her channel, I believe, spoke about the actual call, and perhaps can give me some clarification on that particular call, because I couldn't make sense of it. I said, well, why would that happen? And why would they go there rather than California City? And, I just wanted to, bring that up because that was a part that really puzzled me. And I remember Ms. Crenshaw, did a live on that particular piece of information.
Hi,
and so
Crenshaw.
I welcome Ms. Crenshaw.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't give you a chance to introduce her. Nothing. Hey, Crenshaw.
Hey, I didn't see, well, right when I was joining, I guess that you were saying that you were asking, I just want to be clear what my question was. Right when I came in, there was a question about a CAD call, or well, a CAD report. But what were you saying about that?
I was saying that I had learned from a couple of content creators about that particular piece of information.
Yeah.
And I was puzzled by it. And I remember you covering that aspect of the communications that was done that particular night and everything else like that. So I'm glad you jumped up. I'm glad you decided to jump up in the chat and now on the live, because I know that you were covering some information concerning that police 911 call.
No, yeah, everything to do with that particular day. Yes, I did. I did in fact put the proper reports in to retrieve the police report, if it was a fire report or whatever else, of the proper department that it was, in that jurisdiction. As far as the 21st of December on Potomac Avenue in Bakersfield, there was a CAD call, meaning that it wasn't it wasn't called in by a civilian. It wasn't called in, there wasn't oh, there's an altercation, we need to go there. What it was most likely from one police department to the next. Hey, could you check this address for whatever reason?
Right.
And when I did put in the request for the details of that police report, which I'm usually able to gain access to, I was not able to because they called it part of an ongoing investigation. That's how I knew it was related to the boys.
Hmm.
That was December 21st. Yeah.
And
2020.
that call was made well into the evening, if I'm remembering correctly, because I think you quoted the time of that call, which
Well,
was
it was
way.
after the real time that the 911 call was made was closer to 7 p.m. And I mean, there's an abundance of proof to state otherwise. I know that we've been lied to and told differently, but
Right.
from the original, Kern County Sheriff's Department call that I had made and other calls. So it was shortly after the original call was made. I would say within the hour of that original call being made to 911.
Right. Now, the phone call that was made to the police, California police, I guess, was it an authentic 911 call or a non-emergency call?
Which one?
The one that was made regarding the boys going missing that night.
It was a 911, which was dispatched to the Kern County Sheriff's Department. You have to remember that Kern County is Bakersfield, is Cal City, is other surrounding cities along the way. So they are all in the county. They are all in the county.
Okay, got it.
That being stated, I came across an article in the very beginning, one of the very earliest videos that I did, in which it stated how, Kern County Sheriff's Department responded to, or, they quoted the KCSO. And so I contacted them directly in the very beginning, and I was able to get the exact time. And I wasn't able, obviously, as we know, to get as much information as I should have been able to get as calling, about a circumstance which basically, influences us all. We should typically be able to, but I do understand also that there's going to be circumstances in which they say it's an ongoing investigation, so on and so forth. However, yeah, I did very, very early on, and I continue to try to get any information. But I do know that the time that they've told us since then is inaccurate.
It's not accurate. I see. Ms. Crenshaw, I just wanted to introduce you to Miss Lynn. Miss Lynn came onto the panel to walk us through a little bit from the boys' perspective, Classic and Cincere, in regards to possibly suffering from RAD, which is the go ahead, Miss Lynn. Say hello to Miss Crenshaw.
Yeah, who's suffering from what is that?
RAD. Miss Lynn is on board, and she can say hello to you. And
okay,
yeah, if she's still there, I hope she's still there.
I'm still here.
Oh, great!
Yeah. Oh, great! It's called reactive attachment. Oftentimes, we see it in children that have been raised, removed from their home, put in foster home to foster home, into adopted homes. And it can manifest in infants. Some of the kids will go violent. They're extremely difficult to handle. And adoptive parents oftentimes don't have any post-adoption support. They don't know where to go. They are highly judged by others. When they do go for help, and they are threatened with losing all of their children. But what happens to the boys is no fault of their own. I also wanted to add, those poor kids lost their given name.
Right.
That happened with the final adoption decree. It could not legally happen prior to that. So they were a little old to be losing their given name. And so that's stripping them of their identity. One of those boys was probably fighting back pretty hard. And I am not giving the parents a pass here at all. I want people to understand that. But I think my thinking from the things that I've learned and things that I know is they were placed through an underground network into another home.
What?
I've investigated this for many years. It happened. It's out there. A lot of law enforcement do not know about it. But it's very, very, very real. And it's called child trafficking.
I'm sorry. I do know. I am aware with child trafficking. I just want to make sure I'm understanding exactly what it is that you're saying. So I don't want to. I don't assume anything. What are you saying exactly?
You're breaking up a little bit, Miss Crenshaw.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. If you speak closely to the
Okay.
mic, we can definitely hear you.
Okay, so what I was saying is I do not want to assume that I understand what she's saying when I don't, and I do not. So I just want more clarity on what exactly it is that she said. What exactly is she saying that she knows she has she knows where the boys are now? What exactly is being said here? Because
Yeah, no.
I literally just came in when I wrote in the chat, so I don't know what has been discussed prior to my,
Yeah, no, that was more of her theory there at the end about what could have happened based on her 20 years of experience working in adoption and seeing that underground adoption rehoming thing is real. So it was more of an overview of what she does and then her thoughts on how it could connect. It wasn't like that she's saying for sure.
Oh yeah, the rehoming thing. That's yes, that's a definite.
Yeah.
But the question is, here's the thing about rehoming. Okay, it's not once you adopt a child. Okay, it's totally within your legal rights to leave that child for any extended period of time with whoever you deem worthy, whoever, right?
Yeah, she was just actually, expressing that you get full on rights.
All the theatrics of what we've been going through, if they simply rehome the child, it would be perfectly legal for them, and they could still be collecting the adoption tax credits for them every year. So what benefit is it of theirs? How does that logically equation of the boys I guess is my question.
I mean, it may not. It's just more of her theory, but I get what you're saying. I mean, what's the motive? What do they have to gain? But who knows?
One of the things is judgment is a huge part of it. So I'm a mom. I raised a child with reactive attachment. And it's some of the kids end up in group homes. The parents, no, like school, teachers, my own parents, they couldn't see what my child was doing and how hard it was in raising her. Even though I already was raising another child, never had those issues, but the judgment, because the kids with reactive attachment, a lot of them will only allow you to see who they want you to see. They are able to maintain composure and look like you and me, act like you and me, but behind closed doors, life is pure hell.
You're saying that this is for the adoptive child that's in school, or again, I just want clarity on what it.
Right.
Because I have.
Yeah. So the judgment, some people can't handle the judgment. The judgment is intense.
You mean the child being taken away? That judgment?
The threat of but the judgment in your parenting, people, you could come into my home and not see what we are dealing with in my own home. And if I were to tell you what our daughter was doing, like walking around and peeing all over the place in the house at the age of 12, you would call me nuts. And it's that kind of judgment. Social workers, CPS workers, adoption professionals, your family, your friends, your neighbors, the teachers in school are all judging you. Some people cannot deal with that. Therefore, there is an underground world where they quietly help find a home and take the children to the home. And it could quite possibly be that the West couldn't, release that information, and they made up another story. That would not surprise me in the least.
Okay, I could see why you could imagine that the boys would potentially possibly be given away. It's I mean, I choose to believe throughout all of this and all of my research and all of the time, I to this day, I firmly believe that they were either sold or I'm going to say sold because it makes more logical sense than just given away. However, a lot of the things that you just mentioned would not apply to the boys because they were not of school age as of yet. And you also have to keep in mind that they were homeschooling. They didn't have the pressure that the average person would of being judged by anybody because they had no outside eyes really paying attention to them or these boys. And that's a failure on the system's part. I'm just saying.
So you know what? Last time AV said he pretty much thinks they're gone. At one point, I guess maybe I did. I don't know really what to think right now, but I know Crenshaw, you said that before. You think that they were, if anything, sold. And then, so Miss Lynn, if they were rehomed, it would have been for free, basically, is what she's saying. They wouldn't have got anything out of it.
The rehoming thing is typically, well, in the sense that she's saying it is when people take on extra responsibility and they don't want to go through the system or the shame or being judged or whatever,
Right.
again, they could just rehome them. But that's clearly not the case in this instance because these people never cared about they don't even have any friends. Like they don't have a public, they don't have, they're not social. They're antisocial.
You're still lacking a motive there.
So there's absolutely no reason. Why would they go that route unless it profited them in some way? When it benefited them to just keep them and at least get the thousands of dollars every year. What was it, 14,000 up to per child of adoption tax credits per year? That seems a lot more beneficial to me, doesn't it seem to you?
No, it's not $14,000 per year.
It's do you realize that that there's certain criteria there? What it is it's called special, not necessarily special needs, but in other words, when you go to adopt a child, right? To get the highest tax bracket, there's different criteria. Number one, the criteria is over a certain age. If you adopt children over basically 3 years old and above, which they were, right? 3 years old.
We're specifically talking about California, right, Ms. Crenshaw?
Yes, I'm specifically talking about California because we're talking about a case in California.
Okay.
So in addition to that, right? In addition to that, if you are also what they considered to be not basically if you're Black, okay, that's another criteria. And then if you're related, if they adopt siblings, they checked
like
off
special
every box to make and meet the highest tax credit ever. So I'm not sure, what you, Lynn, what state you're in or where you're going off of, what you're going off of, but
it's federal. It's federal.
They most definitely proved to make the highest adoption tax credit by having them in their custody, even, and that's just from once a year. But a lot of times when you adopt a child, from foster care, right? The county will make a deal with you if you feel like you still need additional help for however long.
Right. It's called subsidy. Yes.
Exactly. So you know what I'm talking about. So yeah,
Right, so
it did serve them a greater purpose to keep them unless they sold them for, a higher profit.
Well, they keep the subsidy and eventually they get charged for falsifying information and keeping it fraud. And sometimes the subsidy follows. If it's a legal placement, the subsidy would then follow. The state of California, for each placement of a child, gets paid thousands of dollars. That's a federal thing. The tax credit, if you spend the money, you have a 3-year period where you can claim some of that money back, and you never get it all. But there is a tax credit when you adopt a child.
right, so I wanted to just jump in here real quick. So, and that's a great point both Crenshaw and Miss Lynn brought up. And I want to welcome everyone that's joining us in the chat.
Yep.
Covering
Welcome.
information on Classic and Cincere. We're looking at it from a different perspective, from the children's perspective, as to what's maybe some of their experiences from this case.
What the hell was going on in that house?
And right, that's a good way of putting it, Miss Q. Not only there, but also with Jacqueline and Trezell, having selectively made the decision to adopt Classic and Cincere, knowing they had 4 children already, and their age groups are important factor. The demographics, I think we're talking about right now, are an important factor in the adoption process, both legal and in the non-legal aspects, and how people go about approaching how they want to adopt children. You make some great points in the areas of the demographics. It appears as though that there are special and selective demographics for certain children, certain backgrounds, certain ethnicity, et cetera, and then we go based on income of the parents, et cetera. That's what I mean by demographics. That also makes a contribution to this case, because we are talking about Classic and Cincere being the ones who went through that process. So taking a look at it from their eyes, their experience, their psychological tilt or readjustment, if you will, plays a very important factor when we talked about the RAD aspect of their personal experience. And once again, Ms. Crenshaw brings up a very good point in terms of, she believes that the boys were sold. She believes that they were trafficked and sold, right?
I'm going to say this. I want to make this very clear. I'm open-minded, so I know that it could be one of many outcomes.
Absolutely.
Like I feel like maybe I don't say that enough.
No, you do. You just have your own idea of what it happened.
But if people ask me flat out, what is it I believe, and I'm asked that quite often, I have to go with what it is that what I've stated, and I have yet, and when the day comes when I have evidence of the contrary, I'll be the first one. Everyone in the world know, but just so that it is clear, like
understandable.
Adoption tax credits for adoptions finalized in 2019, and from that date, right, there's a federal adoption tax credit up to $14,080 per child. The 2019 adoption tax credit is not refundable, which means taxpayers can only use a credit if they have federal income tax liability, and the liability goes in conjunction with what the requirements are of a special needs in quotation marks adoption, and our boys definitely fall under that link. So yes, they did benefit to have these boys in their custody. I
Right. And this is all under the Kern County jurisdiction.
this
See,
is
that's what bothers
this is
me,
not
because
even
that's why
Kern
I
County.
can't go with them. Well, that's why my theory is not sold, even though, like I said, I don't really know what right now I feel. But why
This is
sell them
this
if
is
you're
not
getting
Kern
that credit?
County. This is just this in the state of
I just wanted to welcome also Crime Lines and Lies, Miss Brooks and Kevin B.
MTG.
Operate that channel. Much love to you for joining us this evening.
so yeah. So is it
Why?
there's a lot going on with the
So
kids.
why, if they're getting a credit, like if you're getting, let's just say it was $2 credit, why sell them? Why rehome them? Why do anything?
Well,
I guess
first
that leads me to think it's some foul play. Like, why give
it
up your
could
hustle?
here's
You
the
know?
thing. Here's the thing too. I want to make sure you understand this. A
Okay.
missing child doesn't mean that you don't still get paid for that child.
Oh.
So just because unless they find and deem you unworthy, and they remove your other children, like cases like that.
Got
But
it.
they're not going to. A missing child is not the
Just
same
missing.
thing as
They're
a
not
deceased
gone.
child.
They're not dead. So
Exactly.
they're still getting that money or those credits
They
until it's, oh my
theoretically they
God.
should. Theoretically, yes.
Got it.
So that you have to take all of these things into account. They did
Mm-hmm.
not expect that the world and that Kern County would come as hard as they did. They
Right.
did not expect for the exposure and attention that
It
they
was
did
supposed to be
receive.
easy.
They
Mm-hmm.
didn't expect any of this. That's why they didn't even have pictures ready. They didn't have actual weights and heights ready. They didn't have any identifying information ready because they didn't care enough to, because they didn't think that they were going to get the attention that they got.
Unbelievable that they didn't
So
think that.
these are just the facts of the case. Like,
Yeah, that makes sense, because I'm like, if you still benefiting, it doesn't make sense to get rid of them any kind of way. But now I know they're still benefiting regardless. That's different. Yeah.
They should. Now, I don't know if they are or they are not, because of the fact that they
Oh,
deem
the
them
kids did get
as
taken, didn't they?
parents and they remove their other children out
Yeah.
of their custody, so they may not.
Got
But
it.
I'm
Got it.
sure that they assume that they would be, because in theory, typically you still would. Just because your child's missing doesn't mean that the child's, like.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like they're never coming back. Yeah, I get you. I get you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's still your child.
Right. That makes
Can
sense.
I ask a question?
Go for it, Miss Lynn. I'll mute out.
Miss Crenshaw, I was wondering, since you were out there, did you learn if either one of the parents had a temper? Then did you learn, has anybody checked out their former home in Bakersfield? Do you know? And I would be asking about locks on inside doors, etc.
Oh my goodness.
I think she's referencing the Casa Loma apartments.
Yeah, she doesn't know Crenshaw. Miss Lynn Crenshaw has been anywhere you can think of in this case.
Multiple times. Yeah, inside, outside, spoke to everyone in there. I mean, I don't know if there's a neighbor I haven't spoke to at this point in Casa Loma and or Potomac. I mean, anything you want. If you have a more direct question, I could probably answer it. But if your question is just have I been there, the answer is emphatically yes.
Oh, yes. My more direct question is if either of the parents had a temper.
Yeah.
The parents were in hiding.
They would never go around me.
They wouldn't bring their butts out to talk to hardly anybody, really.
Yeah, no, but it's no way. Like I've never. It's been said but I don't like to really go off of just what people say, but it has been said many, many times over that Trezell, in fact, does have a pretty bad temper. I can't speak firsthand on that. So I never deal with like speculation and rumors. I always try to stick to facts. So I want to give that preface before I even repeat any hearsay. But the
Well, you
hearsay
did.
is he has a
Oh,
temper.
go for it. Well,
You
you
know?
did have a conversation with grandma, though. Weird conversation with at the gate. I can't get out of her head.
Yes, but not the parents per se.
No.
Yeah, that was very weird. I even met the Jacqueline's mother, a very also weird interaction where I just walked up to her gate. Well, what it is in her apartment, they have like a little patio area. And I was passing out flyers with other people like there and, asking questions, doing what I do. And out of every single person I walked up to, out of everyone I walked up to, she's the only one that was rude and angry. And when I asked her, she just said, no, I don't know. Those are the only words she said to me. Very evil stare. And she walked away. So these are like the people that we're dealing with. I've said this so many times. We have 2 boys and we have 2 families, 2 entire complete families on either side of the adoptive parents that don't care about anything but themselves.
It's crazy. And MTG TV, girl, I think I said it right that time. Make this go viral. You got a point. Jacqueline, I do think showed a little temper when she called herself getting a little tood in the interview.
Oh,
with her,
right? No, she got ahead of herself. In my opinion, like for her, the way that she addressed and spoke to and rolled her eyes at the
family. Yes.
It's like, first of all, lady, like
first of all,
like, yeah. So it was. So I'm very proud of them for the way that they handle themselves in general.
Ooh, girl, because they would have had to hold me back, especially when she put her hand up. Because, bitch, no. First of all, no. Like you said, my nephews are missing. You better shut the hell up and take. But you guys,
people often forget that Jacqueline and Trezell were never going to, be interviewed. They never had an interview set up. They refused to speak to anyone, any news that called them or whatever. But when the biological mother went and knocked on their door, and she knew that they were lying, and she was crying outside of their house, and when the news showed up, she's crying into the news. They went out there to do damage control. So that's for itself, and people need to take into account too. Like they never cared about speaking about these boys ever.
Right. It shouldn't have taken 2 damn days. Come on. If they cared, they would have come on out. They didn't. They still don't. They still haven't said like shit since then, which is crazy. Nothing. I guess they're doing like Gabby's boyfriend and reserving their right to remain silent or something. Nothing. These people haven't said a word. We don't know where they are half the time, except for maybe Crenshaw with her research, because they are in damn near hiding. The sex shop. Wasn't that the last time anybody saw them?
No, they've been seen since then.
Oh, really? Okay, I hadn't heard about it. Maybe nobody talks about it since it wasn't the sex shop.
They've absolutely been seen since then. Most recently, coming and leaving the Cal City home, but they've been seen since then. They've been seen since the sex shop. They've been seen in Bakersfield, and after that,
together. They're together now.
I believe. Well, I know the latest appearance is together. Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. Interesting. Hi, Lady R. Welcome.
23 BC News at 11. I'm Alex Bell in for Jessica Harrington. And the search continues for 2 toddlers from California City who were reported missing on Monday night. And now the FBI is involved in the search as well as the Kern County Sheriff's Office. 3 and 4-year-olds Orrin and Orson West, who are on your screen right now, they were reported missing around 5 p.m. yesterday. A search warrant was served at their foster parents' house today in Cal City, and the foster parents are still at police headquarters as of Tuesday answering questions. Cal City police say that the parents are being cooperative and that law enforcement is not the toddlers. Police also are doing forensics exams on items taken out of the home today, and a search team that gathered by the house today spent hours looking for both of the boys, and the community is scared, confused, and angry, and so is the biological mother of both boys.
They've been missing since 5 p.m. yesterday, which is, I don't understand. I don't understand.
Dean says that imagining her boys are gone is a nightmare. She says that she misses them every day and is heartbroken that she isn't involved in their lives. Dean hopes that her children are okay and that she will be able to see them again.
If they find my kids, can they just give them back to me? Whatever I have to do to work on it, to get them. I have a home, I have a car, I have a job, I have money. It's nothing to provide for them. I come from a good background, as you can see, and I don't understand. I just want my babies. If they find them, just give them back to me, please. That's all I want. If they just find them, I just want my kids back to me.
23 ABC did speak to
Whatever
the
they want me
biological
to
father
do,
of the two missing
I'll do
toddlers,
it.
who declined
Again.
interviews and wished to keep their names private.
For my
If you have
kids.
any information regarding
Just
this
hope they're
case, call
okay.
Cal City Police at 760-373-8606.
Or what were we?
Crenshaw, I know you know Ryan. How's she doing these days?
As well as a person could be expected in the circumstances.
Yeah, I know.
There-
I don't know what that. I don't know how.
Puts on, she's as strong as she can be, but she has a pain in her eyes that hasn't gone over. So I don't know how to describe to you.
No, that was a good answer because that's exactly what I imagine. I mean, what the hell can you feel? I don't know what I would feel.
Pain, and everything that she does is scrutinized, and everything that she does is judged, and everything that she does is looked when at the end of the day, like if she didn't work and get herself together and and get dressed, people would say that she was a bum, right? But if she does, they say that, oh, she doesn't
Care about herself too. Yeah.
Look at her. She has makeup on her face.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what she does. So the best advice anyone close to her can really just give her is try to live your life to the best of your ability, because she does has to be strong for it, and she does have to be strong for the fact that the boys are still out there. We don't have answers. So it's like, I mean, she's
it's
a strong.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Circumstances. But also, I noticed, I just looked in the chat like right now, and someone named Jackie M said, Lynn, if the boys were replaced to another home, does that mean their names will change again? And are they placed in different states or counties? I mean, I'll let her answer.
They could change their names if they want to, right?
I mean,
Lynn, that was from you, right?
They can, but to do it legally, you need to amend their birth certificate. So someone can call them something different, but their legal name, if they did this illegally,
oh, I see what you're saying.
The
paperwork for
the names that the West gave them at their final adoption is the name that would be theirs legally right now.
Now, would that fall under, and I know that, the research that I've done, and it's been quite long just covering this information tonight. I want to welcome everyone to the chat in regards to Classic and Sincere. Much love to everyone still joining us here tonight. We have Miss Crenshaw. We have Miss Lynn. We have Miss Q Carlock and myself.
John Q.
just discovering a very good conversation, information exchange. We're still marching forward, bringing awareness to our boys, Classic and Sincere, and we're still on the case, and I believe that hopefully, with us still in discussion regarding this case and keeping their names alive, while Bakersfield continues to investigate whatever they need to investigate, well, to bring justice to this case. A lot of folks have asked, why aren't Jacqueline and Trezell arrested?
Yeah.
For some kind of negligence on their part concerning the boys going missing. And that's been a very, very hot topic, controversial topic, to say the least. But also at the same time, too, we're looking at it from the perspective as to what is the psychological and emotional effects of the boys if they're still alive, is the point of view that we've taken here tonight to cover some information about RAD, which is a disorder in young infants and children that have been, let's just say for a short term, separated from their biological environment, habitat, parents, and so forth, and how that could psychologically damage them, traumatize them due to the course of the events that have taken place in this case so far. So I welcome everyone that's joined us. So
yeah, I also just wanted to kind of touch on, the rehoming scenario situation
yes,
that was stated, and you have to think of what would be
Oh, excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry.
what would be the odds? Like how realistic is it to anybody listening that a person would receive these boys? Because, as rehoming, let's say Trezell and Jacqueline put up an ad or however, asked someone, right? How realistic is it to you that these random people that they were rehomed with would just keep them and refuse to say, hey, I have the missing children? How realistic is that?
It's Lynn, and it is realistic. There are many stories like this out there.
With as much exposure as these boys have,
a lot of the people the type of people or the profile of them that will take these children, also homeschool. They live on farms. They kind of live outside any major metropolitan area, and they raise children quietly. And even though so many of us know about them, a lot of people don't pay attention. There's a little boy, Gabriel Johnson. His mom took him from Arizona to Texas. She was put into a hotel room with this little baby at 8 months old. 3 adoption agencies in San Antonio, Texas, frequently put expected mothers in these hotels. And then they quietly do an adoption placement. She took him to Texas because Texas and Utah, you can bypass birth dad's rights, meaning he does not need to sign. There's a thing called the birth father registry. And if they're not married and his name is not on that registry saying, I want custody of my son, then that's deemed a termination of parental rights. Baby Gabriel disappeared from San Antonio, Texas. And they eventually picked mom up in Florida. She has never stated who took that little guy. And I believe that was 2008. And he's still out there, and his dad is still looking for him. And he's well hidden, and he did not leave the country.
I wanted to just read one comment. I just wanted to read one comment in the chat, which I believe is very important. Hello, Miss New York. Much love to you for joining us. 31 and 36 with 6 kids. One was working, then stopped. Issues with buying the home. Jacqueline comes from a family that runs a fostering business. Could that in any way, shape, or form be a contribution to this?
I'm interested in hearing more about that. I did hear, and what do they know? What kind of connections do they have?
Well, they have family members that have been in the business of fostering / adopting children for what's presumed to be decades. But also, there's a huge difference between hiding a newborn and hiding a child who is 4 or 5 years old, and their face is they pretty much have facial features at that age. It's a lot harder to hide. You would have to give the child to, or be on the child with somebody who was using the child. Nobody with good intentions is going to accept a child who is missing under those in that capacity like that. It doesn't make any sense, because the child's going to get recognized unless you keep the child locked up in the house and you never let the child out of the house ever. The child will ultimately be recognized.
So I'll disclose I'm in South Dakota. You know, we have a lot of small towns and small communities. And I bet you I could walk around here and ask people if they've heard about the boys, and they're not going to be able to form a picture in their heads.
Yeah, maybe exactly where you live, but even have them in school would be a huge risk.
And that's why homeschooling, if you ever have time, go on Second Chance Adoption on Facebook.
But also, if homeschooling, you still have to be registered legally with your legal what?
I agree. I agree with that. And so
your intentions of taking their children to school or homeschooling or whatever else the case may be would do one of these underground backyard rehoming situations. Now, the only way that that's a possibility is more so in what I've been saying from the beginning, is what I assume that could be the possibility, is which they found somebody to potentially sell the children to. And unfortunately, the intentions behind that are most likely going to be sinister. But we can't just sit here and act like they were, it was like, oh, somebody that just wanted children, you know, because if you came and got the children from California or whatever the case may be, and you know where they came from, I'm pretty sure that even though your neighbors may not know, you're going to know, and you're going to know that they can never go to school, right? They can't be legally signed up for school, be it homeschooling or in a classroom. What are you going to do with these kids? What are you going to use these children for? I'm confused.
there are groups and websites where you can check it out and see where it really does happen.
No, I'm
there
sure.
are, yeah, and it's, you know, illegal birth certificates, and people are that desperate sometimes. It blows me away how desperate people will get, and they'll do anything and not think about in the years to come when those children grow up and where they're going to end up. You know, they're self-serving is what they are.
Right. I've watched documentaries and whatnot about the rehoming. Back in the day, like a decade or so ago, it wasn't even that long ago, they even had a forum on Yahoo that was dedicated to this, that was dedicated to rehoming. So I mean, I'm very familiar with the concept of it and what it is. I just find it hard to believe for anyone to get away with rehoming a child that would be reported. Nobody would do that, right? And bring attention to themselves or run the risk of bringing attention to themselves with a child that was missing. Like the children who were being rehomed, that's like one parent or adoptive parent, if you will, would be done with, you know, taking care of the child for whatever reason, and then just find someone to you know, rehome them to. But they weren't children that, you know, were being looked for, if you will. So that's, from my understanding, the huge difference between
and I hear what you say, and you know, the first thought, and I had that thought too, you know, because it was reported by the adoptive parents that the boys were gone. And my second thought, there were two of them. Nobody rehomes two children. It's always just one.
You would think that, I mean, that as well, that's yet another point, but yeah. So again, is that something that you think is the case in this scenario?
I think because there were two, they had to follow it up with a story. And we talked earlier before you came on about why December 21st. And I know I asked John in a conversation, was any of the family going to be seeing the boys at Christmas time, like biological family? Was there still any connections? And so they were going to have to answer to why at the holidays the boys aren't there. And therefore they came up with this lame story and dug a deep hole.
I mean, yes, a lot of us believe that it's because of the biological mother had requested to just be able to drop off even to the caseworker gifts to give, you know, for them, and they refused that, and very, very shortly after that they were reported missing. So I mean, who knows?
I just wanted to chime in here, and I wanted to thank Miss Lynn for joining tonight's live along with Miss Crenshaw, which was that's a double special guest appearance going on. I did not expect that. I guess this is God's way of moving in the right direction, moving us in the right direction, bringing us together.
We want popularity.
Keeping the boys' names alive, and for us to get together to discuss these things. The more we look at this, the more clarity we become, we obtain from getting together like this, where questions can be asked and answered, where opinions could be shared, where information could be balanced rather than tilted back into more of a speculative series than an objectional type of situation. So I just wanted to thank my panel. I wanted to start giving some indication that we on a time clock, and we got to keep the time straight. So much love to all of our moderators for moderating the chat. We do always have a good chat here. Ms. Crenshaw, I wanted to ask you a big question, and only you can answer it.
Okay.
When are you going live again for the boys?
Oh my God.
We would love to come and visit you. All of my subscribers, I'm sure, would huddle over and get on their phones and do some text messages. Folks over at Q Carlock's channel would do the same. We would also do a special live presentation to promote that, because of all the hard work and effort that you put into this case yourself. to see you once again. Whether we have an update or whether we don't, or whether we have special guests that can give some clarity from their perspective, whether it be from CPS, whether it be from any of the other agencies that specialize in the adoption process, whether we have an attorney on here, whether we have child care services, we're all still digging at this. And, we want to send you much love for all of the work that you've done, along with Miss Roro, and AV Watchman, Steve, Rashawn, keep it a 100. We want to keep the name, and we want to carry our message over to other content creator channels to show the seriousness of our support for each other. And that's the reason I asked.
Oh yeah, and I appreciate you asking. I've had so much. I could technically, I could go live tonight or tomorrow. Technically, I have no problem with it. I've just had to. There's just it's just difficult when there's a lot of things that I can talk about. So and I do. My audience does deserve that, so I should probably make that happen within the next couple of days. I don't know if it'll be tonight. Maybe it could even be tomorrow because I have a majority of the day free tomorrow. I do want to just state though that I encourage everyone to do their own research and not to rely or wait on anyone, because information is often misperceived and taken incorrectly, and then that is how people have the wrong idea about either people or situations. And when you do your own research, you can't be mistaken and you can't be confused. So there's a
I
lot
agree.
I even want to go into when I do go live about Jackie's family and how they have this past of what seems to be fostering child after child after child after child, and even adopting children who are currently nobody has a record of where they are. Potentially they move them from state to state, and you cannot depart.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
There's just a lot going on that is relevant, very relevant,
Yes.
that we need to kind of get into. But I don't like to speak on what I don't know until I actually know. And these things take a lot of research and time and dedication, and making bonds with people, sometimes not only in different cities but in different states, to be able to get the information that you need to know the truth about what's really going on. So there's been a lot going on, and yes, I do plan to go live soon. It's been nagging on me as well, that I need to do
Good.
that. Thank you.
Very good. Yes, definitely. Because I miss you. I miss, my little notification goes off, and it's like, wait a minute, you do a little housekeeping. You do a little housekeeping on your computer. And it says, what notification haven't I had in a while? And so, so we want to show you some love and support of, as I said, all of your efforts.
Thank you. And lately I have noticed a lot of the same questions that have been, addressed multiple times in the beginning are resurfacing. And I want to assume because there's new people maybe, or people just don't.
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to just go over the facts as they stand, with proof.
Again, a good refresher.
Clearly necessary, because a lot of people come with the same stupid things and then comment, well, why didn't this or that?
And that's exactly why we're doing this too, so we can try to keep people abreast. And that's why John said it's good that you show up when you do, because you can tie up a lot of the loose ends, if not all of them. But yeah, people are still confused. It would be great to get a refresher from you, because you really have been out there since the beginning, and really, really out there, and really in the paperwork behind, like for real, not just to be blowing smoke up your butt. It's true.
Absolutely. No, thank you. I appreciate you, because there's so much people just don't know, only because if you listen to the wrong things or the wrong people, you're going to be misinformed and you're going to have the wrong idea. And I can't tell you how many people came to me and they were like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even know what they were apologizing for, but they were just, somewhere else believing the wrong things, and people don't show proof. I tend to only speak on what I prove to be factual. So I think that's needed again. And yeah, thank you for having me up here. I'm glad I was able to.
Yes. Well, you got a home in my house. Come on now.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. But let me just do this and come out of here. And I want to thank Miss Lynn for taking time out of her very busy schedule to join in tonight's live. I was keeping my fingers crossed to make sure that we connected right. And, with everyone on the panel, Miss Q, all of you have made tonight's live spectacular success in the way we come together, in the way we are marching together, in the way we're, making sure that Classic and Cincere's name stays the forefront. There are a lot of cases out there that's hot right now.
Right.
And, the Summer Wells case is hot. We have the new case that just came up with Gabby. I think it's Petito, the 22-year-old that eventually went missing somewhere. We still have missing kids. We've got missing young adults. We've got, a lot of stories now popping up. And
we got a missing one that was found dead in the desert today.
Right, Destiny.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wanted to be sure that I fulfill my word in keeping Classic and Cincere's name on the top of my desk.
That's right.
First and foremost.
We're gonna keep on talking about it.
That's right. That's right.
We'll answer the same questions. We'll clarify, or we'll text you and be like, Crenshaw, what's the deal? We'll answer those questions over and over just to keep their names alive.
I have no problem, making myself available. Anything to do with the boys, I have no problem. If I have to clear anything up, answer any questions and if I don't know for whatever, well, if it's a question I don't know the answer to, it's most likely a question that's none of us are the answer to, because it's going to be classified, or they're not going to give us information on. But I always will say that as well. I don't pretend that I know anything I don't know. I speak on what I know.
Right. And then, from the Kanika Jenkins days and covering the case and everything, I said, one thing I do know about Crenshaw, even though we're in this virtual YouTube world that we go live in and make case presentations, one thing I do know, you follow up and follow through. If there is a question that you don't have an answer to, you just say, hold on one moment, let me check that, and I'll come right back at you. And more or less down the road, you come back and say, oh yeah, by the way, someone asked me a question, maybe about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, 2 months ago, and I do have an answer for that person. So if you're in the chat room, here's your answer. And I like that approach, because you never try not to let a question go unanswered, especially if it is relevant and it is answerable. So that's why I got much love for you.
Hey, Roro. Is that Roro? Is that our Roro?
Uh-huh.
She always like to slip in. She knows she's supposed to come in and be like, drop that link. Roro's in the house.
We got Angela from Everyday Shenanigans. Also, we have spoken on this case. Crime Lines and Lies was in the chat. We've covered the Summer Wells case. So I'm bouncing around as much as I can in my open time frame to try to just cover those cases that I know that are on top of my desk, and to give support to other content creators out there that's putting in the effort, that's putting in the hard work. Those that either cover a Classic and Cincere's case, I'll get behind. Those that are covering the Cash Gurnan case, I'll get behind. Summer Wells case, I'll get behind, and so forth and so on. And so, and this is the reason why I'll only do maybe one live or two lives in a week's time, one live at minimum, if I can get to it, But then again, to stay consistent in doing what we're doing and being who we are as a people, I'm just glad that I'm surrounded by the people who've not only got common sense, intelligence, fortitude, and compassion for what we're talking about, but ones who will take action, ones who will follow through, ones who will pick up the phone and make a phone call, ones who will send an email, and so on and so forth. So I know that Ms. Crenshaw, we were supposed to, I guess, get some kind of a template to do an email.
So I have the emails have since been like sent out, but as far as I'll before I go live, that's what I'll do. I will have that set up so it's more for any and every. So it fits for any and every basically member of the political power, and not just like so because wording just has to be kind of like reworded a little bit.
Yes, send it to me, 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 send it to me.
We want it. We want to share.
So we can get a campaign going and come back and we'll at least have something new to say. Something? We sent out a bunch of emails in one group, and we went to support another channel holder. We shared that information. They did the same, and they did the same, and so on. And let them know that we're coming, and we're coming in big numbers this time.
Right.
We need some answers. It's been 9 months. The Christmas, when we get into fall, it's something about September that reminds you of Christmas well in advance to know that the season is about to change. And this is where the boys went missing in that season.
Yeah.
And so we know we're coming close to that 1 year mark. And as incredible as it seems, and it appears to be, and I've always said that this is an appearance of the fourth kind anyway, things that are not but yet appear to be. Well, one thing that it is that I'm in good company, and I know that together we can accomplish far more than separated.
It's going to be their second Christmas that they didn't get to enjoy. That sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I'm going to close.
I don't want to let you forget. I can't let you forget.
Oh, yes. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Yes. Everybody in Crenshaw, come over and check us out if you can too. Sunday night, there's a little baby Mackenzie. She was abused literally within inches of her life at 3 months. She is now 11 months, actually. She just turned 11 months, and she's thriving. She's beautiful. But the abusers are still out there. There is a possibility of, there were 4 people around her within the time of her injuries. So her family just comes on and they talk about her and the situation, and we're digging and trying to help them as much as possible. You know from going through the thing with the boys, a lot of stuff I think that might help them too. But that's Sunday night. Sorry, I stopped for a second, but let me tell y'all. Okay. Sunday night on John Q's channel at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Eastern. Right, John?
Exactly.
Yeah, Maria and Melissa and Amanda have all agreed that that's the 2 grandmothers and a very close friend of theirs who helped us connect.
A lot,
No, it's so horrible. Look at her, and she's so cute. She's adorable. She's partially blind in one eye, 3 skull fractures, a lot of bruising, broken leg. It was really bad. So
yes, indeed.
We're showing her love.
Yeah, so we're going to finally be able to do that live. This case has been pretty much,
Lady R. You should draw the line at being people being rude to creators in chat. Get them out of here.
Yes,
we're here for love and not drama. You know how we do.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
In fact, I'm going to I think I did Miss V tonight and gave her a blue outfit, and Miss Lady. Okay. Yeah, Miss Lady R, you're going to be wearing a blue outfit too.
Good people. Yeah, we don't need that, you guys. If you have a negative opinion of anybody up here, keep it to yourself. This is about the boys. And if you can't keep it to yourself, please exit gracefully. That's all
Yes,
we ask.
yes, because it's about sharing the information and not becoming emotionally attached to any kind of preconceived or negative idea about either as a content creator or someone in the chat. You know, we try to keep it peaceful. We try to keep it, as Chris Madonna would say, classy on his channel.
Who's
And
talking to Roro? I'm sorry,
this
John.
this
Get
is
him out
why,
of here.
yeah, this is why a lot of people like coming here, is because there's, you know, it's not for everybody. It's only for those that want to make progress, especially for this case. And that I get. That I get. And so with that said, I want to thank once again Miss Crenshaw for jumping up here tonight and sharing with us her insights, her deep insights and casework with us for the amount of time that we did have that discussion. Thank you so much, Miss Crenshaw. We look forward to your live. If you're not subscribed to Miss Crenshaw, do it now. Do it
That's
now.
right.
Get
Nothing
over
but
there to
love
our
for
channel. Do
Crenshaw
it
up
now.
in here. We
Yes.
appreciate your girlfriend. Keep doing what you're doing.
And if
Absolutely.
you're about to get off of your live stream as well, I think that Ray Sean has like a post or something that he's supposed to be going live, and I know that he's always out there in Cal City. You know, doing whatever he can for the boys as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. But again, here I will. I'll step down. I'm gonna see what I'm gonna do about. I don't know. It may not be tonight. It may be more like tomorrow. About me going
Yeah,
live.
give yourself. Yeah, definitely give yourself some time, Miss Crenshaw. You know, you can take the sneakers off and relax your feet tonight, and then throw them back on the next day.
You never know. Crenshaw kind of like me though. She get up late night. She might start something at 11:30 and go for 4 or 5 hours.
I stayed up with her one time until 7 in the morning, and I'm like, wait a minute, the sun is coming up over here.
I know about that.
Yeah, this is, you know, she says, "Oh, it's still nighttime over here." I said, "Well, the sun's coming up over here in New York."
Yeah, I always
you need to get off the East Coast.
I would always say I'm on my own schedule. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I do.
Absolutely.
I understand completely. Anyone in here who, just for Savannah, or would, I'm sorry if I said the wrong name, and you're not the person, but Crenshaw is extremely relevant. If you don't know that, I have to question that you care about the boys, and you should probably question that too.
Yes. Yes.
That's all I wanted to say, John. We don't play that. Nope.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Miss Lynn, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes. We love hearing that stuff straight. 20 years of experience. We love picking your brain.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Love to have you back as well. We're going to be doing follow-up in the series.
For Lynn, just a quick question, or maybe she could find this out for later, is I know in the past there was like for the underground rehoming thing. Is there anything like that you know of now that's an online forum that can be found out even with the help of the FBI looked into?
Good question. Let me mute out.
Yeah, but also I'll let her answer that. I'm actually going to talk to my daughter text me. I need to call her. And but I'll be, and I love you guys. And yeah, that is I would love for her to answer if there's any type of a way to track that current day.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Really good question.
The underground world, yes, there is.
Nice.
And I will get in contact with you. And I also wanted to state, if there's, you know, anything other than that, you know, helping you make a connection, figuring things out, just please ask. And I'd love to help you.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Thank you, Miss Lynn. Thank you.
Miss Lynn, I'm sorry, John. I know you want to shut it down, but I got a question. The last time we had Crenshaw on, we looked at what she was showing about being able to access these kids online, remember? So I'm wondering, is that part of it, or are some of those people hiding under that? Because we saw some disturbing like catalogs of children online. with like their hobbies, and it was like you pick a kid and go from there. Does that make
Some,
any sense?
yes, some states will do it. They'll call it Wednesday's Child. And then there are different, so they'll refer to themselves as adoption professionals, but they might be marketing or facilitators. They'll come up with a different name because like in California tried to regulate the facilitators. So then the people that hung their shingles to do these matching services called themselves something else to bypass the laws. But yes, they will put non-identifying information out. So no, they'll maybe tell you the age, but not the child's name, or they'll use a false first name. And so you can just identify which child you're interested in. That's been around for a long time.
Wow. I did not
Yeah.
know that. I was mortified.
Yep, it is. It is very mortifying, and you'll see it often.
Jesus. Okay. Just wanted to see if that could have been some of them, because we didn't understand why the hell that would be like that, but makes more sense now. Thank you, John. I had to ask that.
And most and most definitely, it's education for folks to walk away with, knowing that a lot of the information that we've shared tonight does exist.
Right.
It does exist, and you, as Ms. Crenshaw said, do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Do your own research. Don't take our word for everything that we're saying up here. Miss Lynn is, I would say, she has an archive of information regarding an important process called adoption, and we can tie into a lot of the database information that she has, which is online, and various resources that she can connect us with. So it keeps us moving. It keeps us moving. And how is that reflective to the boys? Well, that's the process they went through, is the adoption process.
Yeah.
And so let's follow that process and see where it leads us, see what it gives to us, see how we're educated by it, and see what new steps we can take together. And maybe we can do something about some of these negative things regarding the adoption process. Who knows?
Right.
But if we don't take that first step in going in that direction, we'll never know.
Exactly.
We'll never know. Miss Lynn, once again, thank you so much, dear. And I will be in contact with you as we did before. So will we do again. And Miss Q Carlock.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Anytime.
Regards to our boys. I know if I went live and said, oh, he didn't call me. Wait a minute now.
Okay.
So beat him up,
Don't do me. Okay.
Absolutely. And much love to the chat for those that are still with us covering tonight's live. Thank you so much. Thank you for your love.
For showing up in the chat.
Yes,
we love
Ms.
having
Roro
you.
Is in here. Thank you, Miss New York. I saw you in here. I was just glancing back and forth at my secondary device. Thank you so much for because you were a great wealth of information when you last came on my live. So, Miss Lady R, you will stay in blue. Ms. V, you will stay in blue.
Beautiful. Sabrina, you will stay hidden from this channel. Nobody's going to worry about you.
Absolutely. I just want to give a special thanks to the other moderators. We got Leslie B. That was definitely moderating tonight. Miss Crystal Moore was here moderating tonight. We have Obsidian moderating here tonight. And you kept the fort down. You kept us going, and I thank you so much for that.
Yes, we do. We kept it on the boys. That's what we need.
That's the important message. Keep it on the boys.
Sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, John.
Yes.
I will get off and let you do your lovely thing that I like listening to. And I'll see you later. I'm going to premiere. But in the meantime, you guys, Crenshaw did say, is it Rayshawn or Rayshad? I don't want to mess his name up.
Rayshawn.
Mm-hmm. He might be going live if you guys want to check in and see if there's more about the boys. Love you, John. Love you,
Oh,
chat.
great. All
Okay.
right.
I'm out of here.
You got it. Much love to you. Okay, folks, we've wrapped up another live tonight. I wanted to try to keep it within a reasonable amount of time, but there's sometimes when we get into a live, fluid discussion and present to you the information that we're here to present, sometimes, just sometimes, good things do take time. And so we're clocking 3 hours and 15 minutes. That's not too bad. I wanted to try to keep it at least 3.5 in that pocket. I think I succeeded tonight. So that people can not only enjoy the live, I've been getting feedback, commentary in the comments regarding the lives that I've been doing. I've been trying to get better in my timeline to try to reduce them so they're not too long. But when you have a panel discussion, sometimes that time can just fly away. And before you know it, it's like 5 and 6 hours. Forget about it. I will not do 6 hours. I got much love for Miss Crenshaw because she kept me up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I turned my head and I noticed the sun cracking through my curtain. I said, wait a minute, that's not the sun, is it? And I noticed the time and I said, wow. I said, we've been in here discussing, and it was a great discussion, covering a lot of information. It was a multi-panel guest. There was information going back and forth, people coming off of the panel, going on the panel. And so I was enjoying myself. You get into Crenshaw's channel, you can definitely lose track of time, but it's well worth it, especially if you want to educate yourself in the area that education need be. And that's on the facts. That's on the facts of the case. Let's see. If I had a little bit of time, I could read a little. You should be used to that late night stuff. I know, Miss Q. I've been rubbing shoulders with you, and you get me back in the stride. I do have the stamina. Yes, I do. So let me see if I need to adjust. Look, we're getting people at the end of the live. Come on now. Be nice. At the end of the live, we made it through. Thank you all so much. My goodness, Francis Dean, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, Justar, Shannon Bennett, Brother Air Force, much love to you. Heather Williams, much love to you. Definitely. Y'all stayed. Thank you. Sometimes, you get, just sitting around watching a movie, and the movie's like, taking its time to end, like The Godfather. It's a 6, 7, and 8 hour movie. You could spend the whole day watching that movie, but you got to do it in parts. Thank goodness. Because what are they saying? Your brain can endure what your butt can stand, or is it backwards? Something about the brain and butt enduring, staying for so long. I'll get it later. Let me see if I can go back up here. Once again, Miss New York, thank you for showing up. Stephanie, thank you. Shannon Bennett, thank you. Francis Dean, thank you. Sabrina Cantu, I think she's gone. Heather Williams, Kick Rock 775, thank you. Let's see. Gail Thornberry, she's still in it. Thank you, Miss Gail, for showing up. Miss Roro, thank you for blessing the panel with your presence. Most certainly. Tanya M., thank you. Aquahoma, thank you. One of the first that was here. Aquahoma. Mary Martins, thank you. Mary Gannetts, thank you for being here. Susu, thank you for being here. I was wondering if we had any folks from Australia and Germany and South Africa. I know that we had a number of them in our last lives before. Francis Dean, thank you for being here. And the list can go on and on and on. Commentary. Miss Angela from Everyday Shenanigans, thank you for being here and showing up, showing us love and support on our channel. Thank you. I'll come by and see you. We'll be shaking it up a little bit over there. We're certainly not going to be talking about Allison again. That's a story in and of itself out of the Summer Wells case. Indeed. Indeed. But we had a good chuckle that night. Let's see. Oh, Miss BBK came in here. All right. Content creator, thank you for showing up and showing love. I know I got to come back over to your channel. I've been busy, love. I've been very busy. But I'll make way. I'll make do. I will certainly make do. Heather Williams, thank you so much. Oh, my goodness. We had a number of people up in here. Belinda Rayner, thank you. Stephanie, once again, thank you. Fern Pear, thank you. Fern is always here. Oh, my goodness. I'm just scrolling as far as I can on my secondary device till I hit the top. Brown Sugar, thank you. Much love to you. Toddles, Noodles, Toodles. Toodles, thank you. Universal LLC, thank you. Barbara Farrell, thank you. Wow. G Money, definitely thank you. G Money is always up in the house. Maggie Rose, thank you. See, I feel better going over the names again. Miss Fire Mama 411, thank you. Charlie, thank you. Heather Lynn, thank you. Thank you all so much for jumping on John Q's channel tonight in support of Classic and Sincere. We try to make sure everybody's covered. If I missed your name, it's not intentional. It's just that with so many names and so much support for the work that I try to make a contribution in doing, it does get hard to run the list, but without you, there is no John Q. There is no John Q's channel, and I'm not here. So I want to thank you all for sharing with me your time, because I enjoy sharing my time with you. When it comes to our children, this is important. We are in the 21st century and we're seeing stuff we've never seen before. We're having conversations about things we've never had before. And yes, it can become emotional. It can make you passionate. It should, because it's our future we're talking about. When Whitney Houston sung that song, The Greatest Love of All, it was a very, very true song. The children are our future. If we teach them well and let them lead the way, we can show them all the beauty that they possess inside. We have to give them a sense of pride to make it easier. We have to let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Those are immortal words, and we need to take heed of those words and keep them with us. Whether you're a parent, grandparent, great-great-grandparent, these words have meaning, and it's up to us that still believe in those words to get us through this. Those are the only words that we could feel and understand. God's word is the top word. Those words will take us through. We can inspire each other to remember those words. Some of those words we sometimes forget due to the craziness that life can give us from day to day, week to week, month to month. Situations and circumstances fluctuate. Life is that way. As Miss Q Carlock brought out in the beginning, tomorrow is not promised to anyone, not any one of us. This may be the last time you hear from me. And if God blesses me again to bring me back, then that'll be a blessing for us all, including myself. But yes, tomorrow's not promised to us. Today is the moment that we have, and the past we can only get experience from. We can't reclaim anything but the experience. Let that at least be a guide. That's what we're blessed with, at least having the knowledge to know that we can retain that information, both mentally, physically, and most importantly, spiritually. This has been a spiritual connection. This is the only way this can happen, is if we have a spiritual connection. And I thank you for allowing me to make a spiritual connection with you regarding tonight's presentation. So until then, may you all stay blessed and be well with Godspeed. Until next time, much love. Take care.